Yeah, you've been here enough times, but you have never actually sat down in the hot seat.
No, not like this. And I've seen the table and setup before.
Yeah.
But now I'm taking pictures because I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I know you're like a little tourist kind of. What went into trying to actually make something like that happen?
And I was looking for something. And then I was like, well, essential oils and stuff and things like that, right? And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, holy, my mind was just. Well, it's one of those things where I think the ignorance is bliss. Because if I looked at the entire picture, I would have froze. I would have been just like, there's no way I can do that, right?
So we should wrap it up.
It's been 4 hours already.
Take a leak. No, it's only been an hour and a half. You want to keep going?
Sure.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
It's crazy how much flavor is in this. Like, you sounded all freaking disappointed there when we're wrapping it up. You're used to the 3-4 hour units.
I was like, man.
I know.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes though.
You have had some significant hurdles in life that you've had to work through. Just the accomplishment of where you are now is a testament of persistence.
More about you, like. Awesome. Okay, so you were talking about the Facebook thing. You want to start with that?
Well, how about I start out with, I'll just say, welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Kevin Unscripted. Welcome to the studio. All that kind of jazz.
Awesome. I feel like a tourist here.
Yeah,
like
you've been here enough times, but you have never actually sat down in the hot seat.
No, not like this. And I've seen the table and setup before.
Yeah.
But now I'm taking pictures because I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I know you're like a little tourist kind of.
Well, especially those silver cups that you have over there.
Yeah.
They're like 3D. You look over there and you're like,
they're
that's
pretty
trippy.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start out with something like I told you is new. Everybody gets a gift. Now, I know you have a bunch of Kevin Unscripted graph already, but as an official guest, you've got a mug, you've got some stickers. Nice. I got some suckers in there, all kinds of stuff you get.
Ooh. Yeah, I like the mugs. I use them all the time. Anyways,
yeah.
I'm not going to unpack this now.
Yeah, pack that off to the side. So I'm glad that we're able to make this happen. Colin, Willeboordse. So yes. The reason you're so familiar with the studio, disclaimer to anybody who really cares, I guess. We're brothers, right?
Yes.
I think
we should actually mention that you're older and I'm younger because I get asked that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Who's older?
Yeah.
That matters.
I'm not too sure, but operators in the patch, they often ask me, it's like, who's older, you or Kevin? No, he is.
Oh, fair enough. By 3 years.
Yeah.
This episode, I guess, is going to be an interesting one because not only is there a little bit of lighthearted banter back and forth, but you started a company called Can Have Today, and it's a bit of a success story, but then also it's kind of cool to be able to figure out what went into trying to actually make something like that happen. Mm-hmm. So, like in your words there, careful with the pokey questions. But no, it's kind of cool that you started an online company because that's kind of a big deal when it comes to what the hell behind the scenes does it take to be able to get something like this going. It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Oh, it's constant learning, and the research and just everything that goes in there is just like a lot.
So let's talk about what is it exactly. Can Have Today is what? What is that encompass?
Can Have, like the product wise?
Yeah, the company and the product.
Yeah. So the Can Have Today, I've developed 3 salves and a Chaga moisturizer. So I had my own skin irritations and couldn't find anything to help them. And so I just kind of took matters into my own hands and ordered all the creams that I could think about and essential oils, and then just sat at my table in the apartment and started putting things together until I found something that worked. So
the I guess the need for finding something and a cure for what you're dealing with was at a level where instead of just trying to source out different options, especially when it comes to what might be on the market, but then also, you know, what the doctor might have going. You know, most people, it doesn't go much past, I mean, trying to source out what's on Amazon or talking to their doctor. And you went to a level where you started to get into the understanding of what might help, and then ordering different foundational products to be able to see if they're going to affect. That just in itself is a little bit of a unique, I think, threshold most people don't get past. Why did you feel the need to go through that kind of effort with exploring?
Well, because I was waking up and there'd be blood under my fingernails from all the scratching I was doing, right? I'd be scratching my skin.
Blood underneath your...
Oh, yeah. I had cellulite, and I just feel so good when you scratch it. And I'd actually literally be scratching it while I'm sleeping and then wake up and there'd be blood underneath my fingernails, right? Or, forgive me, I got a little something in my throat, or I'd be taking a shower. And the only way to get rid of the itch was to take like the hottest it could get and just focus it on my leg. And then it felt so amazing.
To
and then
scald, to burn your skin.
Oh, it just felt amazing. Yeah. But so then it's burnt, and then it hurts, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's burnt, right?
Instant relief followed by sting or pain or...
Yeah.
But why didn't you go to a doctor instead and say, look, this is some weird skin thing that's going on?
Because I hate doctors.
Yeah.
And I'm stubborn. As you know, I was in an accident, and we could get into that a little bit later if you want. But I don't like medication. I don't like doctors just because of all that past stuff.
Yeah.
And it's actually Jody who put me onto essential oils. I never really knew that much about essential oils before, and when I would think of them, I'd think of these hippies in the forest, kind of going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, zenning out.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking for something, and then it was right around that time, just before, when I was doing that drop shipping through Spocket. And then I was like, well, essential oils and stuff and things like that, right? And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, holy, my mind was just, right? And then, and so I got all the essential oils, and I still have a little cooler full of those essential oils, right? And, just started doing, as I said, just putting them together, and finally formulated something that worked for me. A lot of research on the internet. And,
So there's a few things there. It sounds like it was driven by already a little bit of an interest with trying to start something on your own with Spocket and online marketing of some kind. Mm-hmm. Most people, that's familiar. Most people want to try a side form of income and maybe hopefully grow it into something where they can transition from, I guess, day job to something that they have a little bit more interest in. So it sounds like Spocket was that for you. The other part is the essential oil. I'm much like yourself, where essential oils and a lot of different things I wouldn't really give much attention to. I found more of an annoyance with the topic than anything. But I can speak to the essential oil one where it kind of checked me in a way where I went, whoa, there's a lot more to this. There's two things. I started to realize that when it comes to ingestion, you know, whether it's food or anything, we just kind of say, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. But then we lean so heavily on the smallest little Tylenol pill to solve all our problems. Yeah. So in one area, you're like, well, it doesn't really matter what you eat. And then the other one is where you take the smallest pill and it has the biggest impact.
Yeah.
And then this one time there, when we were living in town, I don't know, this is about 15 years ago, I got one of those 3-day hangovers. You know, those bad ones now that you get when you get a bit older? Yeah. They're no joke. Like blinking and breathing makes you want to just kind of die. I had one of those. And then I had a friend from out of town coming to visit. And it was like I woke up and I knew I was in for a road. Like it was going to be a hell of a treat to go through this. And I was like, oh, okay, regulate breathing, don't want to move.
Yeah.
You know, that whole process. And then Jody drew me a bath and she put a little bit of this essential oil in there.
Yeah.
And it comes in this tiny little vial, this black glass vial, and it just droplets in the bath. And it took a process for me to even get in there. Like I had to, And about, I'd say about half an hour, I started feeling better after being in this bath. About an hour later, I got out. And I'd say about 3 hours after I got out of that bath, I was eating. And I mean, I can't stress, when you're hungover to a point where you're 3 solid days of Netflix and just not even wanting to
If you think to Netflix, you're done.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is no joke.
Yeah.
So I tried it myself one time later. I had another hangover, not near as bad, but I knew the oil she used, and I freaking put the whole thing in there. And I got in, and that oil burnt the hell out of me. Whole.
Yeah.
Like brutal. And I mean, when a whole bottle, like I put it in there because it was just droplets, and it didn't look like it was spreading enough. Yeah, so the potency on essential oils, I mean, to kind of go with what you're talking about, these creams and stuff, I mean, they're distilled down to something so effective.
When I first came out with Sparkling Rain, I was using an oil called Ylang Ylang, and I thought it would be the most ugly oil imaginable because it's just spelled Ylang twice. And so I thought the spelling of the name was really dumb, right? So I dropped, I don't know what it was, like maybe 5 drops in my diffuser. And I was stoned from that. Like for a solid hour, I was just stoned from it. My roommate and I were just sitting there, and we were like literally stoned. And I was like shocked. I was like, what the heck, man? Like, it's just like you were saying, it's such a small, but yeah, they're so powerful.
So at what point did this turn into where you're like, man, this is something that I can learn more about and turn it into a business opportunity?
Well, when it worked for me. When it worked for me so well, right? And it literally, the Water's Mist was the first one that I developed. And the reason why I named it Water's Mist was because my leg was it was like throbbing for an itch, right? And I just got home from work or whatever it was, and taking a shower. And I was just, the impulse to scold it was really high, and it just took everything inside of me to not. And then I got out and I tried the formulation, which I just put together, and it felt like it really cooled it down. It was like a Water's Mist, right? And so then I think I told Mom, and then I think I even told Jody. Well, I was just telling different people, and they seemed to like it. And
so at this point, though, this was just something where you ordered a base cream, and then you were putting different oils into it, mixing it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was all. And then when I caught on that it worked so well for me, and that there was potentially other people that were interested, I was like, well, nobody's gonna buy something that I just put. Like, I'm just a trucker, right? And so I phoned around for a lab, and I remember talking to him. I was driving down. Oh, I forget what the name of the road is, but it's by the Montney there. And I was talking to him on the phone, and talking to him about my whole vision and wanting to create a high-end product that was sold for the everyday blue-collar worker like myself and countless other people to be able to buy and not have to fork over $150, $200 for, right? And I said, I don't want to cheap out on essential oil. And he was saying, oh, it's going to be quite expensive, the margins and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? I just don't want to cheap out on that, right? I said my business model might have to change. I might have to do like the Walmart type business scenario. But yeah, so he agreed. And yeah, from there it was just, man, the amount of time. Like, I remember standing outside loading, and my thumbs like email back and forth to the lab, right? And just getting all this sorted out, and just my hands were frozen, the amount of time that went into this. I remember coming back and having to drop water to 2:1, and he phoned me about something to do with frankincense, because it was kind of a running joke, because he was like, well, what are your measurements, right? And I'm like, well, I use teaspoons and chopsticks and things like that. I said, I don't know what measurement tool you use, but I assume it's a lot more sophisticated, right? And so just communicating that with him.
So that was for the base cream? Like with the lab, like what is this lab? What's the role of the lab? You had to start from scratch. Like, I'm just making the connection between where you ordered a base cream and then you ordered different essential oils to be able to mix, and you figured out whatever that ratio was.
Yeah.
And then trying to relay that to the laboratory. So how much of that was trying to come up with, I guess, ingredients or a recipe for the end product that you had?
Yeah, no, I would, like the cream is the base cream. So I didn't make the base cream. The cream is cream, right? I just modified it with the essential oils.
Gotcha. Adding the base cream, was that base cream already something that you wanted? Like you ordered base cream, and so there's a little bit of a texture to base cream. Is it oily? Does it absorb? Does it, the most people kind of focus on how that feels and smells and everything. And it seems like the lasting effect is always how well it works, but the initial kind of contact. So the base cream being something that you had originally kind of played around with, was that the same that you used with the laboratory?
Yeah.
And that was a high enough quality to where that was something in your favor where you can just kind of run with, at least, you know, the way that was being absorbed into.
I ordered all of them. So I went through like all like their buttercream and their different salves and their different moisturizers and their, like, I had like 2 boxes full of cream, right? And so then I would just test it on myself, see which one I wanted and I liked most. I looked at the ingredients, and I was also, because I knew if I wanted something for, say, cellulite, right, dry itchy skin, well, what are the ingredients, right? And what are the ingredients good enough to combat that irritation? And so the whole bunch of research went into that. And then, just what essential oils go, it's the whole combination, right? And then the ratios and things like that.
Cool. So these were things, like, you have 4 different products here.
Yeah.
And each one of those products was to address something that you were having issues with, and that was your way of addressing it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I broke it down, right? I was like, okay, I want something specifically for itchy skin, right? And then figured out the water's mist. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that works. But then I also got the athlete's foot, right? So what's good for fungi and jock itch, and what stuff that helps for that. And then, which the side effect was the achy sore muscles, right? Which won the award, right, for the best natural pain relief cream, which I didn't set out thinking of that until they phoned me, right? So, and then the Healing Legends. And that one, honestly, it was just more like a fluke. I was like, man, I gotta, because frankincense and myrrh, everybody knows about frankincense and myrrh. I was like, well, how cool would it be to get something with frankincense and myrrh? But then I was like, well, the water's mist, and then the second one was the sparkling rain that I made, and then the third one was the juggernaut. And I was like, well, we're going in threes here, trios, right? And so I was like, okay, well, what goes with myrrh and frankincense? And then I narrowed it down to bergamot, right? And and then, because I was categorizing them, okay, well, what's good for wound healing, right? And bergamot and myrrh go really well together with that.
So the research, from what I understand, is pretty much coupled with, like, a base cream coupled with at least 2 different essential oils that kind of work together to be able to address something that you're having. And then, because it's not only specific to one symptom, you're able to figure out what it might address and then put a bit of a list of different things. Mm-hmm. So dry skin, itchy skin, and all eczema and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what did you find was the hurdle after that? So now you have this. What do you do with that now? Like the investment, the carry through, you've got a lab. I mean, there's a lot more. So you have packaging, you have like all of this stuff now to be able to create a company. These are things and hurdles that most people run into, and it doesn't seem like it's feasible, right?
It's one of those things where I think the ignorance is bliss. Because if I looked at the entire picture, I would have froze. I would have been just like, there's no way I could do that, right? but I just broke it down into manageable pieces, right? And just started off for myself, then got the interest, then got the lab, and then got the name and the colors and the branding and the what I want to do for the labeling and the ingredients and the coloring, the whole font and the whole 9 yards, right? And then started on my website. And then it was actually through developing my website and writing the blog and doing all that research that kind of flushed out all the other things, right? And then talking to the lab about, first off, it started off with patent it, right? He was like, well, you can't patent a natural product. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then how do I go about making it unique? Right?
Yeah, propriety or...
Exactly, right? And that's where the marketing side comes in, right? And so that's where it forced me to really make it kind of unique, my own, different. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I'm a truck driver working the oil patch. So, and obviously this could benefit a lot of people, working class people, blue collar, right? And so that's where I kind of narrowed that side of things down and just kind of flushed it out as you kind of go, right?
Well, you're talking about fleshing out, and I want to try and touch on one thing that I guess I might have inside understanding about, just because I watched you go through this whole progressive learning and adapting. When you say website, that was something where it's not like you just went and made a website. You had to learn everything about a website and figure out what that even looks like, how you go about doing it, SEOs, all the programming of what they call the back end. Like, we're talking, let's just start a website, but you went and pretty much self-taught computer programming.
I went
to be able to do that.
I went to LinkedIn Learn.
Like, that's a hell of a feat. Like, it's not just I'm going to go and pay GoDaddy for a template. It was right from coding.
Start. Yeah. Well, I didn't even know how to plug in a mouse. Like, I asked my roommate Art, because I hadn't owned a computer since I lived in Abbotsford, right? I was always on my phone and that with the Android, you know. And so I went to Staples and bought myself a $60 computer because I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, well, this is affordable, right? And it didn't last long. But I was like, how do I do a mouse, right? How do I
hook in a mouse?
Yeah, because before they used to come with these cords.
Yeah.
Right?
So
now they come in with a thumb drive, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how. Anyway, so
and you built your. So how did you learn? You just YouTube the hell out of everything?
Oh, you know, Kevin, I've been like this all my whole life. If I want something and somebody can't do it for me, then I just learn how to do it myself, kind of thing. I phoned around to different marketing agencies or whatever that would build the websites, and they are stupid expensive, right? And like, we're talking like the base price of $20,000+. And so I'm like, well, I got a job. Technically, I could save up and pay that off, whatever. But what happens
with the
maintenance? If something goes wrong?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm screwed, right?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, I got to learn how to do this myself. And so I forget the whole process, but I landed on LinkedIn Learn, right? And LinkedIn Learn, for I think $200 or whatever, has like all these courses in the background, right? And so I just learned basic HTML, basic C++, Java, just the very basic, just so I could. I think
basic coding.
Yeah, I think you might remember me sending on Telegram the basic color codes, right? And then from there, I was like, okay, if I build a website, I don't want these. That's where the cancel culture was starting to come out, with all these big conglomerates canceling different people for whatever reason, right? And I was like, oh man, okay, I want to stay away from that. And so I landed on WooCommerce, right? And found out from WordPress that I could build my own website, and I just want to know, because at first it was just going to be a blog, right? And then that's where WordPress came in. And then I was looking at all these different hosting agencies, and started my own website and found out that there's such a thing as Elementor, which is basically a drag and drop, which made my life so easy because I was like, holy crap, how do I do all the fancy HTML
this is
stuff,
before
right?
ChatGPT or anything.
Yeah, so I was like, phew, that's awesome, right? And like, you're, because you've seen me go through it. I mean, and I'd be messaging, like the sleepless nights. I would just be up all freaking night just doing this thing and then get so frustrated because something would go wrong and I just couldn't find the little check mark that I had to check off, right, to make it work.
Yeah.
And a lot of trial and error, a lot of scrapping what I've done. But I'm glad I went through that because I learned a lot and here I am.
Well, you went that route versus maybe just buying a bunch of product through the laboratory and trying to go through storefronts. Like, what was that decision all about? Why didn't, like, I know there's most people that are starting out, and this is just my own, I guess, perception. They go through the process of trying to get their product in storefronts, or they start a storefront and supplement, through farmers market, or they'll throw ads out on Facebook. Like, these are the normal, but you went through not only getting a website, but learning how to code to be able to build a website. So what was your vision at that time when it came to try and start a foundation or a company that would allow you to sell this product, and why that route, like online?
Good question. Well, there's not one specific answer. It's a whole effect of answers. But one of the things, when I was younger, I was a street worker, right? And reached out to street youth and gang prevention, that kind of thing, right? And from then, I wanted to create a company that the front part of it would be the money, like the money engine, right? That would then feed the nonprofit on the back end to support youth workers to reach out to youth, right? Because in my time with youth, working for youth, I was with Youth for Christ, and the youth workers, they spend about 75% of their time fundraising, right? And then they would have families and things like that. So let's just say another 15% of the time was with their family, and then it would leave them with very little time to do what their passion was, which was youth work, right? And so that's where I wanted to start, and I wanted to support youth workers, and so they could actually have time to do what their passion is. And so when I started this, I wasn't thinking, well, obviously I was not looking at this as a business at first until, as I explained, right? But then once I saw that there was that potential, then I was like, well, I gotta go big or go home, kind of thing, right? And from there, I was like, okay, if I want to do the longevity of this company, then I want to know how each part operates, right? So that when I have staff, or I want to expand, or I have an issue, or whatever it might be, then I have the knowledge behind me to take care of it. Now, I never thought I would have to be an expert in everything, nor do I believe I have to be an expert in everything right now.
But a basic understanding allows you to navigate.
Exactly, right? So that's where that was my whole philosophy behind it.
So
right?
the back end of it was to be able to generate revenue for nonprofit and specifically youth work.
Yeah.
And that was accomplished through going through e-commerce instead of, just kind of going through storefronts, and something a little bit more locally, I guess, was the restriction.
Yeah.
So the whole process of trying to accomplish that, what was your vision? Why not just say, you know what, I did pretty good solving the problem that this got me going on. There's a certain level of tenacity that goes with solving a problem that obviously started with the initial reason why you got into it, to building it out and having the motivation to learn how to code, to start to make a website, and then learning how to formulate a product so that the quality control in a laboratory is done. and then figuring out what that looks like when it comes to shipping and storage with a warehouse, and then having shelf life and branding and labeling and registration and FDA approval and everything that goes with, you know, something that seems fairly easy on the
Tax
surface
codes,
to
still, everything.
yeah, I mean, I remember you sitting there talking about tax codes, so like different provinces and just different jurisdictions, and then realizing maybe going international into the states and having to figure out tax codes based on, you know, the states, and then the shipping that went with it, and how you collect money, and all of that, what it entails is something that is a bit of overwhelming,
Yeah.
like you kind of alluded to earlier. But in that whole process of figuring it out, what kept you going? There's a driving force and something in there that kind of keeps a guy going from just saying, wow, okay, you know what? I think I topped out here. We're just going to kind of go with, thank God I found something for my legs.
Well, yeah. Well, and the amount of times I've wanted to give up is unfreaking believable. The amount of times I'd be just my guts would just turn inside out, and I have to push through it. Right, I have to do that because not only then I had to. I'm an introvert, right? So I like to be by myself, and I don't like talking to people. Well, it's like I like talking to people, but it's that I'm not comfortable doing that, right? And this forced me to talk to customers and talk to business people and things like that. So the amount of times I crapped myself was just too many to count, right? And so the motivation is exactly that. Just
You're pushing a uncomfortable boundary into needing to figure out where the growth is in something. So it was challenging, I guess, part of who you were, that you're trying to take something that seemed overwhelming and overcoming that obstacle. You're a truck driver, and that seems to be a topic that when you're advertising on like local media and whatnot is like a reference. Well, hey, we have these creams from a truck driver. Does that title was that motivational to be able to offset that, or how did you manage it? Because you've got a work life that most people use as a reason why they can't invest on the level you did. But then also it kind of puts a little bit of a justification is to not only the success of what you've been able to accomplish, but almost a backhanded compliment almost, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, well, I felt like for a long time there, I still do to an extent, I felt like an imposter, you know? I'm like, well, I'm just a truck driver. Like, who am I to have these creams, right? And like, who am I to have a successful business and a store outlet and being sold into different like Safeway and Homesteaders, that kind of thing, right? Shepherd's Inn. So a lot of it was imposter syndrome that I kind of had to deal with on myself. It was just, and it goes into the whole being an introvert and the whole demons that I had to fight, if I could use that word. It's just an analogy, right? But like, for example, before, like I was living on your property, and I would just be a homebody in there. Again, I'd just fight depression and that whole thing. We don't have to get into that till later if you want, but this helped me out of all of that and it made me happy. It gave me a purpose, if you want to say that, right? But yeah, it's and then then I was talking to different people, and they were like, yeah, it's very interesting. It was just kind of the awe factor, right? It was very interesting for them to know or to hear that a truck driver came up with this, and it's almost like a leveled playing field for people, right? It's like anybody could accomplish anything they want if they just want it bad enough and they put their mind to it.
Exactly. We hear that quite often, and motivational speakers kind of touch on that, and you keep hearing that, you know, it's almost part of a daily language where if you stick with something and you want something bad enough, you can achieve it. But the application in that is very difficult because you don't really, when you hit obstacles and roadblocks in that and figuring it out is hard to be able to figure out what the next move is. And the scary part about the next move is that the risk factor people are referring to is not always about money. It's application of yourself into figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always possible, but to actually invest that much of yourself into something to navigate through learning how to code to be able to solve the bigger issue that you're having, which is a website, because you want to address the maintenance of it all, because you don't want the independency of a lot of other people.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do, and vulnerable. So that's where the risk is, because now you've invested a tremendous amount. And at some points I know sometimes can feel like I could have bought a freaking truck for the amount of money I just spent. That would have been pretty sweet.
I could have bought more than a truck. It's a lot of time, energy, and finance tied up into this, right? And it's now at the point now, too far back. I can't back out, right? Because I'm in home.
Point of no return.
It's like I'm committed, right?
Yeah.
And so that. I believe in the product, right? I believe in what I'm doing, and I've got enough customers who have experienced the satisfaction of the product to, it works, and I'm doing it.
Have you had the must be nice factor thrown at you? Like, it's possible for you. You know how everybody else said, well, it's genetics, or I was dealt a bad hand because, I was either you're born into a rich family or you're born into a poor family. There's always a reason why you can't possibly do it. Under no circumstance are you able to possibly achieve what the next person did, because the next person has an advantage that you'll never have or have had, which almost devalues the effort that was made in trying to get to a certain point, like a website or... Mm-hmm. So have you had that? Like, once you hit milestones and accomplish markers, have you encountered where people are like, wow, it works for you, but I can't do it because of whatever?
Maybe I have, but I don't recall. Maybe I have but I don't care, and like, if they're telling me that I have the advantage because I have an oil patch job and I make all this money and whatever, right? Then I've got 1,000 other things to throw back at their face, and I don't. Maybe they have. I just don't.
Yeah, it hasn't really registered.
Yeah, I just don't pay attention to that stuff because not everybody's gonna like you, right?
No, not at all. I'd like to maybe talk about you mentioned some things. Maybe we'll talk about one thing or another a little bit later. Well, it kind of goes off of the segue. The question I just asked is must be nice. You had to overcome obviously a lot of life obstacles that is, everybody has to overcome issues. Everyone has a past, but you have had some significant hurdles in life that you've had to work through, that just the accomplishment of where you are now is a testament of persistence and tenacity. Mm-hmm. So there was this accident that you were talking about, a vehicle accident. Can you kind of explain a little bit about how you navigated through that? That was a car accident that threw you into a coma for a few weeks, and you had to pretty much learn how to walk and talk and coordinate.
Yeah.
So what was that all about? What were the hurdles with that?
Well, I was walking to your house, actually, and your apartment, and I was crossing the road, and some guy didn't stop, and I was thrown, I think they were saying 20 or 25 feet or something like that. And as you mentioned, I was in a coma, and when I got out, I had to relearn everything, how to walk, talk. Yeah, I was told even swallow. Had to redo all my education, everything. I had, I forget what they're called now, an assistant take me on a walk just to make sure I could find my way around and wouldn't walk and fall down and things like that. And that went on for, 17, so 25. So good 7 years at least.
And through that time, though, there was... Well, how old are you when that happened again?
17.
You're 17.
Yeah.
So driver's license pulled, told you couldn't ever drive again.
Yeah.
Because you were technically jaywalking. The payout with that wasn't quite like as if it was a crosswalk. So there was a trust fund. There was a small a payout, but we're talking something that's like laughable. But it was put into a trust fund because you were apparently not able to work full time ever again for the rest of your life. Correct?
At all. Yeah. No, they were telling me I was never going to live on my own or have the ability to live on my own. I was never going to get married. I was never going to work. I was never going to be able to have full functioning thinking, or whatever they call that. Yeah.
Why? So this was a lot more than physical injury.
Yeah.
This was some. What was the mental or the drawback that's restricting you from being able to recover fully, to work full time, to be able to drive, to be able to get married?
Actual chunk of my brain missing, eh? And so I had to relearn everything. I was pretty handicapped, like mentally. I was very slow, and my language was slurred, and I went the amount of psychology and psychiatrists that I went through was unfreaking believable, from memory tests to figuring out basic problem solving skills to I mean, it's, you name it. I mean, they threw it at me, right? And so I was supposed to be able to they told me that, you have to take a nap for the rest of your life, right? Like every day have like a 2-hour nap time, just like a little child, right? And every once in a while I think about that and what I'm doing now, and I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, well, there you go. I had 2 shoe boxes full of medical stuff that was telling me all that, right? So yeah, it was just again, I went through massive depression. They put me on, had to go circle back to your question about the doctors, is because they put me on all these different medications that was supposed to help me with fatigue and I guess anger. And I was just like a little guinea pig because nobody really knew what to put me on, right? And so finally I just said, fuck it. I'm not taking this. This is who I am. I'm not going to. And that's where I think, going back to my.
Why say the hell with it? Instead of taking the pill that most people would think is going to give you the freedom to be able to navigate and do what you want to within life, what was the restriction there? We're like, oh, okay, this is a dependency that I don't want.
Well, because, and as I was about to explain, it's what the same kind of thing on why I want to figure out how to make my website, how I want to figure out all the things, is because I don't want to be controlled by anything, right? And so by taking those pills, I was like, well, I'm just living under their control, right? So fuck you, right? And I'll just do this myself. And I literally refused to do it because it was turning me into a monster, those medications. I was flying off I remember yelling at mom and dad, and they were just trying to help me. And I just, like, it was just this rage that just came out. And then people would justify it. Oh, it's a medication. Oh, he has a brain injury and all this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, no, I want to take control of my own freaking life. And I want to be able to get a job, and like, cause it's a very attractive offer when you're at that age, especially, to say, okay, well, we'll get you a trust fund and you won't ever have to work again. Well, at what cost? Right? I was buddies with somebody else at the time, and he was going through all this stuff just to get an ICBC disability thing, and he was sleeping with this kink neck and all sort of stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to dumb myself down, which my lawyers were telling me, don't give effort, don't do anything above and beyond what they ask you, and answer falsely and all sort of crap. I'm like, no. I want to live. I was in my 20s, right? I'm like, no, I want to fucking live, and I want to say, fuck you, right? I want control over my life, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just been that way, you know? And I think that I was fighting. So there, and then I was living on the street, and then I came here, and I think that's part of the reason why I went through all those years of depression, just because I was in survival mode for so long, right? And then by actually coming here, landing, having a good job and everything like that, it was just able to, and then when I developed this product, that was kind of my escape, right? I was like, oh, okay. And so that's where
you had to pretty much figure out, I think, the challenges at that time on how to overcome what they're saying were restrictions when it came to your ability to work full time and drive, and slowly work at overcoming those burdens to where that was more of a normal kind of day-to-day life. But there's a moment that we kind of skirted where you that was a bit of a struggle, because you ended up getting married and there was a lot of things that happened, and the end result, without getting too personal, was where you were having some hard times and you were virtually homeless for a period of time, living, in whatever, barns, vehicles. And so the turning point was in that moment. Was it what brought you out of that to where you moved up and you're like, okay, enough is enough? Like, everybody has rock bottom, but nobody knows where it is until you're there and you make that decision. So what was it that was like, okay, enough is enough? Like, was it what was that for you?
Well, this is cool because I haven't thought of a lot of this in a long time. But so I went through, I'm just going to give a little bit of context here. So I went through the whole giving the finger to the doctors, finally getting my settlement, and then getting married, and then going through divorce, and then coming up here. Now you're gonna have to help me with this because a lot of the some of that time is patchy, so I don't really. A lot of it is just me kind of recycling what other people have told me. But if it's incorrect, just correct me, okay?
Yeah.
So I came up here, and it was I think it was 2008 or whatever. It was my first time in the oil patch, and I was testing, and you were my supervisor, right? And that was an awesome experience and things like that. So, but what I didn't realize is breakup, right? And so breakup happened, and I had a winter full of cash, right? And so I was like, well, let's go to Ukraine, right? Good way to celebrate. I was just hitting the tail end of my divorce, and I just needed to blow off some steam and blah, blah, blah. So I went to Ukraine, had an awesome time there. And then I came back and found out that the company that you and I were working for went tits up, and I was jobless, right? And so I remember sitting in a park downtown in Richmond, and I was like, man, okay, I got a choice. I could either go down to Hastings, and I only had like maybe a couple $100 in my pocket, right? And I was like, okay, I could go down to Hastings and drink all my sorrows away and kind of live that lifestyle. Or I had gone through 7 years of street work, right? Training, helping youth in the exact situation that I found myself in, right? And I knew all the resources, soup kitchens, what they call job zones for applications and stuff like that. And so, but that was in Abbotsford. I was not familiar with the Vancouver area. So that is one of the pivot points. It may not be the exact one that you were talking about, but one of the decisions at that time that I'm like, no, I'm not going to go down that road and become a drunk, and I'm going to make something of my life, right? And also at the same time, I wanted to give my stepson like some sort of schooling and stuff, and help him out and stuff. And so, I spent the night at my friend's house. He was living in a park with his. That sounds bad. There's a house in a park.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was staying on the floor there. It was a nice place. And he was kind of worried about me kind of squatting at his. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so made my way back to Abbotsford and just went to work. I found, I don't know, again, I don't remember because it's all just so blurry to me. But I ended up Oh, I had my pickup, Ford F-250, the white one that was up here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I slept in there, got knocked on the window by cops and everything saying that I couldn't be there, whatever. And just different places I'd be sleep at night. And then in the morning, I bought this pool membership, and I'd go to the pool for showers and whatever, right? And went to the job zone. And I swear I applied for every single job in Abbotsford, right? And then finally, I think it was, something like $100 or something left, $80. I forget what it was, but it was my last money. And this company phoned, and I forgot that I didn't even know who they were. They were phoning saying, "Oh yeah, we got your application, blah, blah, blah. How about tomorrow and such time," right? And I was like, yeah, sweet. So what I had to do is I had to go back to the job zone and look through all the freaking things
They didn't say who they were with?
they said the company, but I forgot who they were, right? Because I just applied for, as I said, like anything.
Just blanket application.
Everything, right? Yeah. Subway, freaking everything, right? And so I found the application to kind of jog my memory, and I was like, okay. And so it was at Cedarbrook Chateau in Mission, that retirement home. And so I went to Mark's over on Five Corners and bought a T-shirt and nice presentable clothes. And I went in there the next day, and it kind of makes me smirk now or smile now because I'm so proud of myself. Then I went into the interview the next day, and you know how it's custom at the end of it. Okay, well, we have other people. We'll give you a phone call back. And I looked at them and I said, look, I only have $20 left. I smacked down the last of my money for this interview suit. Like, I need this job. Please, I'm going to work really hard for you, right? And then when they heard that, they hired me on the spot. And
wow.
Yeah, and worked at that job for, I think, 2.5 years. So, and then through that job, because I was living in a barn at the time, and through that job, I was able to move to Mission and get my apartment, first apartment, and just start. That was the start of my climb back to Fort St. John, right? Just a struggle after struggle, right? But you just don't give up.
Yeah, it's definitely apparent, and I think you develop skills to be able to adapt and overcome where other people, hit those roadblocks and don't have the skill and I think the drive to be able to figure it out. And that's where I think adversity becomes your greatest asset. Handing things, I've seen people, and I think everybody's seen people that they come into contact with that pretty much had everything by default given to them, and it's the worst curse. They've got genetics, they've got schooling, they've got a background that is absolutely amazing with a family name that secures them in a corporation of some kind. And where are those advantages when there's no adversity to follow it up? I don't see people actually being any happier, and they start kind of losing traction. Any kind of gains that maybe people had to work through to be able to put their children in a better place doesn't always actually work out, does it? And you see a cyclical pattern kind of where, people get rich, and this isn't for everybody. You've got elites and all this nuance. I get that. But you have this cyclical pattern of where, a lot of effort and sacrifice is made. And then because of that grind, it's not passed on. And you kind of go with, a little bit of a recession on, success and whatnot. There isn't an appreciation as intimate as grinding it out for yourself.
Yeah.
And that sense of accomplishment is a human trait that nobody else really has a sense of accomplishment unless you put in that time and effort.
Yeah.
So to get where you are right now is a reflection of, some serious accomplishment.
Yeah, it was not easy. It was, but it's one of the most, obviously, because I'm here, right? It's so satisfying, right?
Yeah.
Because everything I have now, I mean, I've met a lot of good people along the way who've helped me, and I don't think I'd be where I'm at without their help, right? But yeah,
There's a
it's
huge
just,
difference between help and support, though.
yeah,
You know, like you're saying with your friend, I think that's hesitation on different fronts, especially where is that line when it comes to close friends and family? Because if somebody doesn't take advantage of the help to be able to, you know, get them in a place that the no other ways would be able to accomplish, if they don't take advantage of that, then they're stuck, and that help ends up becoming a form of support because they can't maintain it with other people without people giving it to them.
mm-hmm.
And I get that when you, like society now, there's you know, homelessness and a lot of these other issues, but how are you supposed to treat that without enabling
Mm-hmm.
and supporting and giving the helping hand that allows that person to be able to accomplish that next step? Like
Yeah.
that's a fickle, you know.
Well,
and you
yeah.
took that to
Yeah.
where you're able to actually move ahead,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on it personally and own that. So that's, everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. I don't care who you are. It's just, what do you do with that help?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Preachy, eh?
Well, it's not preachy. It's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And it's yeah. So
when it comes to, you know, can have today, the goal is always shifted. So it's like, oh, where do you want to see this end up going? Because through the process of trying to, you know, get to your end goal, sometimes the goal changes. But in the near future, like, do you have yourself a little bit of a plan on where you want to go, like a structure as to what you want to see?
yeah. Well, it's amazing because going back to that whole when I was working at the senior home, right? I remember several times a week talking to a good friend of mine. Actually, I still talk to him today, and talking to him about my goals, right? Telling him, like, look, I want to make this company and I want to do like support youth work and all this other stuff. And at the time, I'd just gotten off the street. I was making what, $12 an hour, whatever the minimum wage was back then. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, Colin. Whereas now, when I talk to him, I'm able to say, I never knew that this would happen the way it did. I never knew the path that I'd take or whatever, but wow, it blows my mind away that this is happening, and I'm able to talk to him on a realistic level on what's actually happening,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like he's blown away too. So to further what your question was, where do I see this going, is I've started a couple other companies up, begin today, which is internet development or website development company. Partnered with some really intellectual and talented web development tech people, and just getting into the whole marketing side of things, CRM. Again, I'm using the same mentality that's got me here. I want to do it myself. I don't want to pay other people to do it, so I'm developing that, and I'm not going to talk about those two things too much just because they're still in the development stage. But all that said, to answer your question, is once this kicks off, then I'll be putting a team together for board of directors for that nonprofit that I'm talking about, and
Wow.
and then just
Realize your goal.
yeah, just go for it.
It's kind of interesting how you're talking about the website that you're providing a service for.
Yeah.
So all of that learning curve results now in a service you're providing for others.
Yeah.
Hey, well, there you go, right?
It's completely different products, right? Skincare versus website development versus marketing, but on a business level, they all complement each other. In fact, when Art was around, this was back in, so about 4 years ago. But this is why I was like, man, I wish Art was around still, because then we could kind of reminisce and I could show the program. But I had a whiteboard when I was first figuring out Can Have Today. And then I was just throwing everything that I wanted at it, right? Because I needed to kind of get some form of direction and things like that, right? And I had Can Have Today as a center circle, and then from each, it was almost like a mind map, right? And one of the things was a website tech side, right? Yeah, which is exactly what I'm doing now, right? And fulfilling that kind of vision there. And then the other side was a marketing side, which I'm at the beginning points of kind of figuring out how I could put that together, right? And it was kind of like a chuckle moment looking at that. I'm like, whatever, right? But I told Art, I said, I'm going to do that. I said, that is going to happen because...
You're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fail trying.
And what's the harm? Well, and
die trying.
But
isn't
what's
that
the,
a 50-cent thing?
Yeah.
Get rich or die trying?
But who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you fail, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Right? At least you tried, you know? Or at least I tried.
Well,
right?
There's a learning curve, that grind.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found was pretty interesting is through all of this, you're managing work and a lot of other things like most people would, but you had a team. Like you were able to source out ways of being able to manage your workflow. Mm-hmm. So you found what was that, a website or something where you got, and I think that's even kind of, you're talking about some text and stuff. You're able to source out help in the form of employees that were doing like what you were talking about earlier with the blogs and everything. So doing research on the product, creating content and information on your website, people that were able to pretty much do behind the scenes work and you were giving them direction. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that, because that is a pretty wild, I think, aspect to how you're able to get to where you are now.
Well, I wouldn't be able to do it all by myself, right? Because as you said, I'm trucking. And there's too many moving pieces to do on your own. So I had to, my philosophy is surround myself with people that are more talented and educated. I won't say smart because that has a negative connotation to it, right? But just find people who believe in the same vision, that are more talented in areas that you need their help in, right? And work together. Right. And thankfully, I've come across some really good people to help me. Right.
How did you find them? How do you go about sourcing that out?
Well, I found a couple of them through a website called Upwork. And where was the other one?
But they're both online websites?
Yeah.
So how did you filter out all of the pros and cons, and why a website?
Well, a lot of pros, a lot of trial and error, right? I did employment face-to-face, right? Like, so in person. And then that was, to be blunt, that was getting too expensive, right? And so then I would outsource it through Upwork to Philippines. Found a lady, she's actually still with me now. She's got her BA in human biology, and she was looking for at first she was gonna just manage my social media for me, right? And then the more I talked to her, I found out that she actually has 2 medical journals published, and she's right into the human biology. She's going for her doctorate. And so I was like, wow, sweet, you're a perfect fit for helping me write the blogs, because you got more knowledge in that aspect than I do. And so in fact, if you go to my blog, I mean, that's all of her, right? And so then there was this Sabir, he's from Bangladesh, and he went through a lot of different tech people. And when I was on there, and he was bugging me. He was actually starting to harass me for a job, right? And so I was with I hired this other person, and they weren't doing a very good job. And I forget exactly how the process was, but it happened to where when him and I were on a Zoom call, the other person that it was working for me was starting to shut down my website. Like, it was almost like a light switch, right? One feature at a time turning off, right?
Just a vindictive little retaliation of something?
I'm not really too sure. Yeah, probably because I had just let them go, and I had some words with them saying you're not doing your job. Yeah, right. And so he's like, "Sir, let me take control of your computer," and it was just a whole trust factor thing. And I just was like throwing myself. I said, "Okay, if you could fix this, and go for it, right?" And he corrected the problem, secured the website up, and I was like, "Hey, you're
hired."
You're working with me now, right?
Well, what a weird real time this was happening.
Real time, right in front of my eyes,
So,
right?
what are the odds of somebody being on your website and you being on the website at the same time with another person who's in another country and seeing what's going on real time, remotely? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, like we had done a freaking.
Did you buy a lottery ticket that day?
I don't know. But it was like a 3-way Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
And the I forget their name, and it's not really important, but they had kind of hung up, and it was just within that conversation. I was just wrapping up with him. I was telling him, I'm gonna think about it, blah blah blah, right? And then things just started going on with my website, and yeah. So, and I'm not looking back because he's a really good guy, right?
It takes a while. It's a numbers game a lot of the time, trying to find right people.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot of again, trial and error, right? Because people are people, right?
Yeah, and there's an element that I want to touch on too. You were at one point so dead set on making sure that you bought into the shop local, which is good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the shop local and stay Canadian and everything else is, I think, a core element that you want to protect within the company. Mm-hmm. But there's certain things that you had to outsource. Mm-hmm. What was that transition like, and how did you not compromise the feel and the reason why you wanted to be founded, maintain, and grow within the Canadian border? Because that's I think a hurdle that not only speaks to, I think, what your intentions were, but a lot of people have a hard time with. There's a sellout feeling, with it all to keep it within borders. But then, at the same time, we're very open to immigration and frowned upon at the same time for employing outside of Canada. It's this weird little fickle thing. Yeah. So for you, like, how do you accomplish, a couple of those alternating, the yin and the yang in that a little bit? Like, so what's the element that allows you to be able to outsource?
Well, it all comes down to money, right?
Feasibility.
It all comes down to that. I'm busting my ass, keep everything as Canadian as possible. I mean, even the chaga mushrooms harvested in Northern Ontario, right? My lab's in Ontario. I'm in Fort St. John. Everything's kind of, but it's just the way the world goes. I mean, those units, I'm trying to, that's the other aspect I'm wanting to get in is my own manufacturing because I could cut my costs considerably. But the majority right now, unfortunately, comes from China, right?
Now, when you say the majority, that is the labor, like as far as who you're employing, or what is that exactly? When you say the majority of what?
The units. Sorry,
okay.
The plastic containers and the whatever, like the labels and stuff like that. The majority. I am in the process of, but it's really hard because even if you find a Canadian or U.S. company that will sell these, where are they getting it from, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of research and things like that. Now, in regards to the labor, as I said, I started with local, like Canadian employees, and then they quit on me when I say quit, it sounds like a negative thing, right? But it just
it didn't work.
Opportunities came and they had to leave, right? And so there I have a business that I'm trying to run and need to think quickly on my feet and within a certain budget. And I came across this virtual assistant concept. I never heard of it before. And so I went to, I think it was Canadian Virtual Assistant or whatever the website was. It offered Canadian virtual assistants. And so contacted them, but they dragged their heels. And then the first contract that I had was a total flop, right? And so then I was like, okay, what's your competitors, right? And I came across Upwork, and I never even knew the whole world was there, right? And in fact, now it's starting to become a concern within Upwork because they're like India will put a bunch of people in a room or in a house, and each of them will have a contract. So they'll put their money together. It's not only India. I'm not being racist in that way, but Pakistan or Bangladesh or whatever country, right? Yeah. And then they'll all do, say, computer graphics or marketing or whatever, and they'll have 60 contracts go on. And each person will, if say there's 5 of them, they'll charge $10 per contract. Well, they'll do the math. I mean, that's quite a bit that you're earning a day, right? Which is, in my opinion, I mean, that's ingenious, right?
Yeah.
But not a lot of people could do that. So it's starting to, there's a little bit of a conflict on that side where other North American people who can't afford to live on that wage, understandably, is going, well, stop charging so little because you're bringing the market down, right?
You're undercutting. And that's even a local thing where people, workers and service providers and companies want to standardize a certain wage for a thing. Yeah. And then to stay competitive, others will come in and lowball. And then in doing that, you create, animosity or enemies because of, well, why are you doing it for so cheap? And it undercuts everybody else, the Walmarts of the world, so to speak. But that is like what you said, kind of I think the world works, but now what about the quality? Like, what are you getting that no matter how much you spend, are you getting bang for buck? Is there a quality in there versus maybe local? What are you getting that might be better as far as the service you're getting out of it?
Well, in regards to the my tech guy, and that's where it's a double-edged sword, right? Because a lot of times you get what you pay for, and I've gone burnt a lot, right? Like even just as recently as last week, I went to this outsourcing for getting leads, warm leads, and things like that for something I'm trying to do. It was just a total flop, right? And so you kind of, it's a sad thing, but I mean, I think it's like that no matter where you live, right? What was the question again?
Quality control.
Quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I've just been fortunate enough to bang my head against the wall, go through a number of trial and error things, and then really hold on to the guys that do good. And one of the reasons why Spear, my head tech, he's been working with me for almost a year now, and his goals align a lot with mine in respect to how we treat customers, and taking that extra, like you and I talk about often, is taking that extra 10% to do quality work and things like that. And then part of our contractual deal is once he reaches a certain income point, it's been his lifelong dream to immigrate to Canada, right? So with his family. And so I'm like, okay, I'm 100% on board, because I think that's, of course, St. John's a great place to do that, but we need to make a certain income for you to afford to sustain you and your family over here, right? So that's that. Yusla, she's using this to put her through medical school, and then that'll be that. And then the other person that I'm hired is actually, she lives in Ontario, so she's already Canadian. So does that answer your question? How do I maintain the quality?
Yeah, it was quality control. You did a numbers game. I think we touched on quite a few points.
You just kind of roll your...
one of the things that I've want to touch on too with Can Have today, because you do have some people who have very educated and dedicated people going through that whole process that you just talked about. But then the recognition within the company itself, the FDA approvals with a lot of things, and the standard that Canada requires when it comes to being able to package and make a product like this. But then also, there's been a few other awards that you were recognized in and actually presented when it came to the quality of the creams. Can you touch on that a little bit? There was one in particular. What was the first award that you received?
The best pain relief, natural pain relief, and then the best overall brand for the Canadian Business Award.
Canadian Business Award.
Yeah, who exactly dishes that out? I was actually taken off guard because I was actually on lease down the, I believe it was Whiplash, and got that email from them.
So how was that submitted?
Corporate Visions.
Or like, how was that triggered? Like, you just got an award that you didn't even know you were in the running for?
Corporate Vision, I think, is what the company's name is. Somehow they came across my product, and somehow they used it, they liked it, and nominated me.
Wow!
I'm not even really too sure of how.
Cool.
I honestly, and that's what blew me away.
The power of quality.
Yeah, it just blew me away, right? I was like, what the heck? I'm like, how did you even hear of me, right? Because this was last November, right? I'd just gotten into Homesteaders. I'd just gone through my functions that I had at Pink Mountain and all those other areas, right? And it blew me away, and I won, right? They nominated me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what are the chances, right? But then they contacted me, I think it was in January, and like, yeah, no, you're a winner. I was like, holy smokes.
Well, there's a few people that I've noticed have been key players when it comes to supporting the product itself. Mm-hmm. Well, there's JD Knives that I think you were one of the first people that you got in with, mm-hmm. Jesse Lambert.
Yeah.
And he's also been on this podcast in the past. I forget what episode that is, but shout out to Jesse. You should get on here again. Let's do it. Come on. But then also you were doing a Moose FM commercial.
Yeah, Tina Tucker, and
they're all shouting, nothing but support and raving reviews.
Katerina, she's awesome. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that seems like there's a lot of people that when they try the product itself, the quality shines through, mm-hmm. and you're pretty much winner chicken dinner, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that means. To that.
Yeah. it means that once you get past the threshold of marketing and the look of a thing, and people try it, the quality shines through.
Yeah.
It's like when you go and buy Buckley's. I mean, what in the hell does Buckley's have? It definitely doesn't have flavor.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, but when it comes to marketing and making sure, everything's all perfect, Buckley's is the example. If it didn't work, that Buckley's really has nothing else to go on. Mm-hmm. They don't advertise. It tastes like crap.
Yeah.
You've got something very pleasant, and the longevity of it, and the reason why people are committing so heavily to it is because it's not just all about the packaging and the marketing.
Yeah, it works.
It bloody works.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, and that's so nice for me because I am just like, you get I am who I am, right? And so I don't have to be a sneaky salesperson or convince people. If they, I just have to say, here, use this, right? And chances are you're going to use it again because it works, right?
So what, you touched on the 10%. Let's elaborate on that, because you've mentioned that a few times off air. I didn't know it resonated so much, but what exactly to you is 10%?
Well, I remember you saying quite a bit as I was growing up, he makes you sound like my dad. But as I was younger.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older.
Yeah, only by 3 weeks. Three years. Just give it that extra 10%, right? And if you want to separate yourself from the herd, just put that extra 10% into whatever you're doing, work, activities, fun job, whatever, and it'll pay off. And that stuck with me, and it works because I'm here now, right? Go off the street and all that other life stuff, and yeah. So for me, putting that extra 10% in, and this kind of ties into your quality question, and this is what I push with people that work for me. Don't focus so much on speed. I mean, you need to have a product, and you need to have an end game for a business to function, right? But focus in on quality and giving the customer, whoever it is, what they want, and blowing the fucking mind away with the outcome of the product that they're paid for. Because this is going all the way back to my original conversation with the lab. Is if you look at the corporations in the world and what choices we have, you can count them with your hands and your toe or fingers and your toes, right? It's very narrow, and so we're getting accustomed to the slogan "You get what you pay for" is something that I just mentioned with employees, right? Is you're tricked or you're trained into paying $120 for a half an ounce cream that's full of chemicals and whatever, and you think that that's better than the lower priced product just because of price point, right? So and I do this myself. You navigate to the higher price point, and because my brand is, I want to target the everyday blue collar worker, the single parent, the small business, that kind of thing. Is I want to offer high quality, because I wouldn't even blink twice with charging $90 to $120 for this. It's worth it. It works. I've seen people pay that much or more. Oh man. Yeah. I don't want to name any names here, but I've seen outrageous prices out there for a really small, like not even a 1 ounce container. This is a 4 ounce, and I charge $29.
Yeah,
for it,
they're relating quality with the price.
Yeah. So
Yeti is an example of that.
Yeah,
it's bulletproof, but they charge a wild amount of money, and it becomes a little bit of a product on its own because of price point, instead of trying to travel with the pack and then that competition.
Yeah. So going back, I forget the exact question, but I'm just going to finish this. It's one of the things I really push on the people that work for me is it's the quality is for the customer, and I want to give back and give value for their money, right? And I'm not just saying that just because I'm on a podcast. Ask anybody that's talked to me for any length of time, and it's just, I feel like
Well, the end result is, I think, the proof in the pudding. The fact that people rave so highly about the product itself after they try it is it's where the juice is. It's the 10%, and I try the best I can in abiding by that myself too, because the way I've kind of seen it, and I think everybody has moments where they step back and they look at the landscape as far as life, where are they in that whole meaningful, insightful, cerebral part of things. But what are the common denominators? The way I break things down are data points, and I don't mean anything like an engineering level. It's like, what is separating certain people, and that's how you can break it down, like what you said, into manageable bites that make sense of complicated issues. And when it comes to success, I've noticed that a lot of people, when you deal with workflow, people, growth lies in the realm of uncomfortable areas, and that's 10%. Survival is roughly 40 or 50% effort. Good and exceptional can range between 50 and 80%, and excuses are in 90% of everything you do, but results is in the last 10%, and that's where your growth and the juice is. And it speaks to everything. If you're working out in a gym and you got a guy who's putting in just as much time as the next person beside him, but he puts an extra 10% and focuses on each muscle group and, making it count where it's really uncomfortable. The results over time show. And the next guy will have excuses, and that's fine. That's good for him. But the way I look at it is, if you're going to put in 80% of your time and effort, that's a lot of your time and effort just to spin your wheels and not gain any traction and sit in one place. You put an extra 10% into something like with what you did with your website, it pays, and the ability to be able to accomplish things is unmeasurable, and the results you get in return. And you don't have the excuse, you have the skill set at the end of it all to be able to propel yourself further and further ahead, and you start actually separating yourself from the pack. You're that guy in the gym that starts to really, there's longevity and a routine and a sustainability that goes with it. And you talk about different one percenters, and Elon Musk and all these big names, Steve Jobs, and the people who are ultra successful, they make it easy because I think when they invest everything in themselves, that 10% of uncomfortable growth becomes part of everyday life, and it becomes easier. And when you now working out all the time, you're not sore. You're able to when you work in the 10% of effort, you become part of the top 10%. Period. And then you want to become that 1%. And when you're a 1%er, you're in a playing field that's untouchable, and people say, well, it must be nice and look at the achievements, but work in the realm of uncomfortable growth. And you got to push yourself all the time to be able to feel comfortable enough there. And we all have our things and what that looks like. For you, you overcame obstacles that were unforeseeable, like unattainable by every profession and matrix out there. So pushing yourself, that 10% got to where you are, and that could be, public speaking, sitting in wherever to try and figure out how to code. But I do believe that 10%, if you're going to put in 10%, you're a 10%er, and you by default will be successful.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Another preachy thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I think if you want something bad enough, just go for it and don't give up. Like, you're using you as an example here. I know it's your podcast. You don't like to talk to yourself about yourself, but I mean, look at the quality, just this table alone and the setup that you have here. I mean, that's that extra 10%, right? And it's the quality that shines through because of that extra 10%. The extra 10% is in my product, and that's the quality that shines through in my product. The extra 10% is going from making a decision that I'm not going to be on the street and I'm going to actually make something in my life, is that extra 10% that just got me through. And you can use that right across the board. And so. Yeah,
10% on the back end has all the results. 10% at the beginning is you just waking up. So where do you want to go? That's cool. I think it's time for a whiskey. You into that?
Sure, let's do that. I told you not to do that, but
we'll do a sip. How about we? Did you tell me not to? I don't remember that.
No, I didn't. I didn't tell you today. I was like, remember in the summer? I was like, oh man.
Remember in the summer?
Yeah. If I do a podcast, I don't want to have any alcohol because I might say something stupid. But
we're on the tail end of it all.
Yeah,
I want to wrap it up, but I want it to be on a high note here with some whiskey. I got a guy buddy of mine just came in yesterday, and he dropped off a bottle called 90. It's a 20-year-old whiskey.
Oh, let's
absolutely
do that,
amazing. You want a sip?
Oh yeah.
You want a ice cube with it?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to get you to do recording with my phone while we do this. And we're still recording, so we'll try and keep the mic, I think, in mind when we're doing this. And you can just...
Where do you want me to sit?
Right where you're at. And I'm going to bring everything to you.
Sweet.
So here you go. So we'll start out.
You want me to film you, or?
Yeah, sure, okay. Absolutely. You're in control now.
Okay.
You don't have to zoom in or nothing.
No, I zoomed out.
Okay, so we have cherry, oak, apple, and we got hickory. So would you like to smoke it? with one of these flavors, or would you like to just kind of leave it?
Sure,
as
I'll
is?
take it however you give it to me. Let's do, I'm going to look at these.
Use the glasses.
Apple. Cherry.
Actually, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna try this later. But this is a really good whiskey. This one here, I just tried it yesterday. I love it. So shout out to Jordan. I got a 40 Creek here.
Ooh,
We'll smoke this one.
nice.
So which flavor? Cherry?
Well, I've tried apple before. Let's do cherry.
We'll just do a sip here just to try and get it. Just to try and get the flavor. What the whistle? So we're gonna do cherry. I'm gonna have to get a humidor to go with for cigars to go with this. Oh, I forgot this here.
What kind of cigars do you have? Oh, you
Well, I
don't
don't have
any?
any cigars now because I've tried to buy, whatever if I go to Mexico or even just a local smoke shop. But I find they don't really last that long. So I got to get a humidor to be able to keep them going because they dry out so bad up here, especially in the winter. I love the smell. I don't know if it actually tastes good or it's just the act of us doing this that makes it so cool. I think it tastes good.
I think it's for me anyways, it's experience, eh?
For sure.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. So I learned, it is starting to smoke now. I learned you can't go too damn hard because the resin that comes off of this in the smoke gets a little overpowering. It's pretty cool, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? So we'll just keep that going. And that's just my ashtray kind of deal for getting rid of it. So there's yours. You can blow the smoke out. And I'm going to make another one.
Oh, I like that smell. Oh, my Lord.
See, I think it's it's not really good. It's just cool. So cool. It seems good. No, it's good. It's crazy how much flavor is in this. Like I was telling Jordan, I did this with water. I smoked water. I got it warm, put it on a cookie sheet, and another guy that I know, Simmergod, he has a big smoker. So we smoked the water, and then we made ice cubes out of it. We thought that'd be kind of a cool way to melt the ice cubes in the whiskey. Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
But it didn't work out.
Really?
Yeah, this seems to be the only way to actually smoke whiskey properly.
Well, let's cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers to that.
Awesome.
Here, I'll take that now. So we should wrap it up because I got to take.
It's been 4 hours
I gotta
already?
take a leak. No, it's only been an hour and a half. You want to keep going?
Sure. Let's pause it, take a leak, and then come back at it.
Sounds good. We're back. Oh man, feel like $1,000,000 after. You sounded all freaking disappointed there when we're wrapping it up. You're used to the 3-4 hour units.
I
eh?
was like, man, this is turning into, yeah.
I know.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes, though.
It's all we can.
Yeah, please do.
It's hard to manage length of time for me now because I'll hit a 4-hour unit and it's good, but then are a lot of people going to listen to it? And I mean, managing it, I just free flow. I don't know how to manage it. I just kind of throw it out there.
Well, I think from your little thing on Facebook, that answers your question a lot.
Well, the thing about that on Facebook is I did the exact same post on my Kevin Unscripted Facebook page. I think Instagram and a couple other platforms. And like underneath the Kevin Unscripted pages, it was virtually, well, I don't want to say unanimous. I think there might have been 1 or 2 comments about it splitting the length into 2 different, like part A, part B. But everybody else was like, no, we want it one long continuous deal, and they can
Yeah, I saw
pause
that.
and stop.
Yeah, I saw that.
Unanimous. I put the exact same post on What's Up FSJ,
Yeah.
which is the local Fort St. John Facebook page. Exact opposite.
Really?
Yeah, everybody wanted part A and part B, and
Really?
even some wanted a lot of different little finessing and polishing done to it.
So that's on WhatsApp?
Yeah. No, like What's Up FSJ. So it's a Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Trevor Bolin started it for Fort St. John, and so I asked him if I can go on there, and just because it's more or less a local podcast, even though the reach is down in the States. And shout out to Pioneer Log Home and a few other people who made a presence down in Europe. That's just freaking blowing my mind. Yeah, Robbie Three Wheels.
Yeah.
So Robbie and Meg, who went through Fort St. John in the middle of 30 below winter on those bikes. Yeah, they're from Europe.
Really?
Yeah, and between that episode and the one I did with Brian Reed with Pioneer Log Homes, he landed a strong presence in Europe.
Seriously. I watched that one, but I just, I think I saw it was trucking or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They're from Europe, eh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Was that mentioned in the podcast?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
they're French.
apologize.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I was right at the beginning of the video part of it.
Yeah.
So majority of my episodes are still downloaded by audio only. So that's how most people are consuming this.
Yeah.
A smaller percentage are video only because it's through YouTube. And so there's quite a following when it comes to the video end of things, but it's taken off slower than I expected.
Well, I know for myself, I listen to it on YouTube while I'm trucking and I put it down, right? And then it's nice to pick up and watch it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
That's interesting
that way
how
I could
people
get
consume
both
that.
the audio and the visual.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Visual.
so damn long because so when I'm loading or whatever, so I listen to
So
it when
damn
I'm
long.
so when I'm driving, then I could just listen to it. But then when I'm at whatever location,
You can watch it.
yeah,
The visual aspect, people are visual. So I think once the YouTube aspect starts to really pick up, I think it's going to be good. But like I've mentioned before, and this isn't no conspiracy theory, anything, the shadow banning is a real deal. I am shocked. More I learn about that, and some of the elements and some of the like the algorithms that are picking up some of the. It's no joke. Actually, Dustin,
is that?
he helped me with that.
Oh, really?
Well, he mentioned something interesting because that guy has got like probably the purest YouTube channel you can think of. I mean, it's amazing. His quality is out of this world when it comes to videography, and the subject and everything. But we were talking about shadow banning, and he went on. He checked out the website, his episode on my Kevin Unscripted website because it's YouTube embedded.
Yeah.
And this was right at the very beginning. So he watched it and he's like, wait a minute, you're not getting a view. Like the algorithms aren't being recognized when people are going through your website.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that on what's going on to try and address it. But he said shadow banning is pretty severe because they'll hit you for 6 months.
Really?
And then if they take a video off, then it's a permanent thing. And the only way to offset that is through just going old school. People have to see the value in it. And there's a lot of truth behind liking and sharing and trying to, within the first 24 hours of when you actually post it.
Yeah.
And that's the only way it recognizes it as something people see of value, and it wants to keep watchers engaged. So it'll promote that, right?
So do you think that that new law that Trudeau put out is affecting this? Like that
100%.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But you don't really follow their news.
No, exactly. So there's two elements going on with that. The first one is just because the nature of some of the episodes, whether they're good or not, like the political titleship or whatever, it triggers the shadow banning.
Oh.
So that's a bit of a tricky one to get over. And I hit a strong one because I did a private event and I put it on YouTube for people to view,
Oh, okay,
but it was
yeah.
unlisted.
Yeah.
So, but it took that, it removed it.
Really?
Yeah, and it sent me a thing. I posted it on Facebook, and so that puts me in a place where it was bad, and that's the whole reason why I do the websites. It had nothing to do with my podcast. It had everything to do with just trying to whatever.
But you know what
it
I
was
noticed?
posted,
Yeah.
and they hit it. So the other element when it comes to the shadow banning. Oh shit! I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
You were talking about the website.
Oh, the reason I did a website was because that's how I want to be able to expand into other ideas that I have. And if I can focus people to go through my website instead of being dependent on social media like YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
then I can create my own analytics and allow there to be a little bit more value in, maybe generating money through sponsorship and whatnot. But I have a lot of people now voicing, interest in wanting to support. So I might get into the Patreon thing, whereas before I kind of,
Shied away from that.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever wanted to do. And I find advertising clunky. I don't like it. I'm trying to find something that I feel comfortable with,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I'm not really into, the money aspect is obviously what makes the world go round, but it's not my driving force.
Yeah.
And then the other part, shit, I can't remember what the hell it was. The analytics. But anyways, it is what it is.
Well, I find that my website, that's a nut to crack. So if you figure that out, then share the wealth, please, because my website, it's awesome. It's full of information and things like that, right? It's just the conversion rate. It's that's the aspect that I'm finding it. I thought it would be opposite. I thought e-commerce worldwide or Canada-wide or whatever, but it's not. That's not the case. I don't understand it.
What do you mean? What element is? Because you can't be shadow banned.
No, I'm not shadow
So
banned at all.
what's the?
But the conversion rate from people who go to my website to actually purchase the product is, I'm finding a lot more going to what you're talking about with local Homesteader, Safeway. Safeway is picking up nicely, and even Shepherd's Inn and JD Knives. It's local, and then when I go to these shows, markets, whatever, I get a lot of sales on that, but not so much on my website.
Is it feasible now with what your overhead expenditures are? Are they being offset by sales to be able to make it a neutral?
No, not yet. I have to.
You're still doing investing.
I have to keep trucking, right?
Yeah.
And I've streamlined a lot, and that's where the whole learning curve comes in, like what you're talking about with how do I know quality on like Upwork and that kind of thing. And I've streamlined that a lot to where I've only got a couple people doing a couple things.
Yeah.
So I could quality control and not a lot of money going out versus reward, right? But
You've been doing this for 2 years. You're 2 years into this so far.
the website
Can't have today.
can't have to. We're talking about almost 4 years. Well, about 4 years.
You were
So-
talking about earlier with your laboratory, you'll make an order, and you were kind of worried with trying to hold things back when it came to growing and marketing and whatnot, because you're worried you're going to run out of product because of the relationship you have with the laboratory and the ability to supply demand, and you don't want to run out and lose that.
Yeah.
So you're almost kind of by default holding yourself back a little bit because of the supply and demand issue, I think, was a little bit of a hurdle.
Well, it was not only the supply and demand issue, it was the whole financial issue as well, right? Like, I obviously making it from scratch, it doesn't come free, right? It's not like I'm going to Shoppers Drug Mart, buying a whole bunch of their product and then putting it in my store and reselling it. I have to make it from scratch, which also costs money. So that's where I've limited it to Canada, right? So I have enough inventory. But like you were saying, is I've kind of put the brakes on It's a balance, right? It's like, where do I expand, right? But then run the risk of running out of product in that one location and then not able to resupply it, right? Because there's a month and a half delay from the moment that I put the order in to them having to formulate whatever, put it all together, to the trucking into my store, right? So, plus the fact that there's that whole invoicing delay, right? It's not instantaneous money, right?
No,
So
I
it's
remember
like,
you went from you supplying the product, and then they would cut you a check because you were buying. I forget how it worked, but you were putting your product up on a shelf, but you're supplying it, and they were paying you for the stuff that was sold versus people buying a certain volume of your product up front, and then they would be more in control about the tracking and inventory of your product and order as needed.
yeah, that's I'm having a brain fart here. But I understand. Okay, so that's how I started with homesteaders. Is I'd go in there and I'd have my product, and as soon as the product would sell, then they would take a percentage, and I'd take a percentage, and then we'd cut the check every week for that. But then when homesteader flipped and went wholesale, then they buy all the product that's there from me. I become a wholesale supplier, and then I invoice them, and that's how that works.
So that's a far better way of doing it.
In my opinion, because that saves me a lot of running around, right? And it gives them more control over how they display it and all that other stuff, right?
So if you were to do it where they purchase in advance your product and then they provide it on their shelving, how would that affect it with the concern of your ability to be able to fulfill an order and the laboratory kind of being a little bit of a bottleneck in your...
If they purchase it from my store, then I go and fill they're not going to wait a month and a half, right? Does that make sense?
It does. So you don't want to... Yeah. The other element, I guess, that you were talking about earlier is because the cream is organic and it's got a lot of real natural properties to it, you had to be able to get a reefer van to be able to transport some of this and maintain temperature.
Yeah, the temperature control, especially during the summer months where it doesn't get too hot or doesn't get too cold, right? So the oil stay from it separating or going rancid or anything like that. And then also, because it is a natural product, there's an expiry date on it. So I don't want it to go over a year, or else it'll expire, right? So
How did in the winter months, like right now, is freezing an issue?
yeah,
So how do you overcome that?
then I have to get it shipped in a temperature controlled van where it keeps it for above
Is that
freezing.
as common as a reefer where it's refrigerated?
Yeah, well, it's just as common, right?
So that same reefer is able to heat or cool. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool. They have the heating ability.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Before I lose my train of thought, like earlier when I did lose my train of thought, there was one thing I wanted to address a little bit off topic here is you asked about Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, about restriction when it came to the podcast. So that's a twofold answer. One, the primary one, is when he rolled that out when it came to the CRTC regulations with podcasters having to register and then it would be regulated through what they classify as air quote Canadian content. You had to meet a $10 million in annual revenue stream.
Yeah.
So like the Joe Rogans and other very established podcasters, that's where the net was able to catch them. So there's a little bit of government influence as far as what they can and can't. Like it's all Canadian regulated.
Yeah.
So I don't fall in that category, clearly.
Sadly.
Well, you know what? The bonus is I don't get as much negative commentary, but I think with negative commentary, you realize you're actually starting to grow.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'll tell you, I'm dreading that day.
Yeah.
I'm almost tempted to rename my freaking podcast just to avoid it. It's
Really?
something, yeah, I'm not into the fame thing. It scares the hell out of me. I don't do it for name recognition, believe me. But anyways, I think what's happening is that's laying the foundation to roll out the ability to be able to, make the news smaller. Eventually it's going to be, and I think a very short period of time, where anybody who's a podcaster will be regulated in one form or another. I don't think it's a very big step, but I think the intentions with going with it, and this is maybe off the mark, and I'm sure this will probably generate some chitty chat online once they hear this, is it lays the foundation for, at the end of the day, it is a form of control, not quality control, just control.
Yeah.
And what fits those matrix of what's Canadian content, what isn't, what's misinformation, what's disinformation, like all these freaking coin phrases they're coming up with here that seems to be a part of our language nowadays. Just because, you know, at the end of the day, if you restrict the ability for people to be able to communicate, you have control. So whether it's in your favor or not is dependent on your points of view. So I think the $10 million threshold allows a lot of the Canadian content to be able to be controlled with an area of influence, and eventually it'll get smaller and smaller. And another, I guess, second point to all of that is what happened with the ability for news organizations that aren't Canadian based, like Google and Facebook, to be able to supply news because they wanted money. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's unfair for these news organizations to be able to create this content and provide news without being subsidized for that whole effort. And you can make an argument, but I think more importantly, people have to realize that when they're providing that content on a platform that they don't own, like Facebook, that has the ability to reach so many people, and charge advertising and charge for a lot of different things on each individual page, that's a form of revenue that you're creating on somebody else's product. I use it and I have to pay for to monitor, like I have to pay them to be able, if I want to boost a post or whatever. So, you know, there's an argument for each one of them, and I don't disagree with Facebook, and I'm kind of glad they stood their ground when it came to that, because to have to pay the Canadian government to be able to fall within their matrix of what is allowable and what isn't, and that whole end up on their platform. Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, go old school and go, like, if your product isn't strong enough to support itself and you need government supplementation, then allow me to be able to qualify for the same exact, you know,
control though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is,
you are scared. You asked for it. You want to go down this rabbit hole?
Yeah. Well, either they like me or they don't like me, but, which goes into my mindset of what I was talking about before, right? Is I'm just a small nothing burger in the grand scheme of things, but we need a parallel, almost like like alternatives, right? So instead of going to like the Facebooks, Microsofts, Googles, all those places, we need to create.
Oh, that was a torquey one. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still feeling it down here. It's like I've got like reverse heartburn kind of thing, right? But yeah, I forget what I know what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to word it in a way that is decent.
I think I know where you're going, because you had part of the reason, going back to your website. Okay, so this was something that GoDaddy and, you know, Squarespace and a lot of other people that provide platforms were actually shutting down certain companies that didn't align with their company policy. And you wanted to break out of that mold. A little bit curious as to why in your situation that would be a concern, because what your product is providing is fitting the mold. Like, let me tell you, you're hitting organic, you're hitting all of the things in a way where, I mean, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Try it once and you're going to see the value and the quality in it. So where would that be a little bit of a conflict of interest when it came to, you know, maybe your ability to use Google and all these other platforms and whatnot?
Yeah, I understand. It's two things. One, if you open the door a little bit, it's just like Trudeau's censorship on the $10 million and above, right? If that opens the door to allow him to lower that from 10 million to say 5 million, then from 5 million to say 1,000, right? Then, and then go along that line, right? So when I started seeing websites getting deplatformed for views that they held, that was against the narrative of the elite, right? Then I was like, okay, what happens if I step out of line? Let's say next year, 5 years, 10 years, or however long it takes down the road, right? Do I really want to spend the time, energy, and money developing something, put it on another platform just because it's easier? Because that's how they win people. It's water takes its easiest way downstream, right?
Yeah.
And so
create a template and people.
Yeah, so they go down that avenue, and they're like, "Oh, this is easier. Oh, this offers that perk and this perk, but nothing's free, right?
Yeah.
You get the perks for a cost, and usually that cost is control over your product, right? Which is part of the reason why I'm trying to avoid getting into debt as much as possible, just because as soon as I give away a chunk of my company, say like a bank or an investor or whatever, that gives them influence and control over my product, like price point or whatever I want to do with it, right? So anyways, getting back to what I was saying, is that's where I was looking at different platforms, like you mentioned, and I went on to the one that I am now because, in my opinion, the one that I am now, to my understanding, gives me the most freedom, right? And
So the platform you're on now, though, is, do you have your own domain, or like, what do you mean platform?
well, I got my own server, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's on WordPress, right? And the server's through SiteGround, which is, as far as my knowledge goes, neutral on a lot of the political crap that's happening. And so I will eventually get my own server for my own thing, but that's a good starting point for me to expand, right? And then I'm through WooCommerce instead of Shopify and those kind of things. I have PayPal, but I'm not really using PayPal just because they shut down a lot of different companies for different reasons, right? That didn't have to do with anything. I'm using Stripe. And so, yeah, just, and then I got Sabir. He's creating my own CRM, customer relation management system, to bring, again, the control back into, so I don't have to worry about deplatform or people selling data.
So what are you worried
like
about with the deplatforming? Like with my podcast, for an example, it could be far easier for people to pick apart, and there's these polarizing subjects that, you know, can definitely be, you know, perceived in one opinion or another. But like with a solve, you know, that's politically neutral.
It's politically neutral, and maybe it's more out of principle than anything.
Okay.
Just because if you don't stand for something, then what are you doing?
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I'm like, I'm not perfect. I'm not right on the money all the time, but at least I'm standing for something, and right or wrong or indifferent, I mean, it's what I'm doing, right?
Yep.
So, and then going back to what you were saying with, or what I was saying with the whole parallel thing, that's where I'm trying to create as many resources within my, because I don't want to get too spread thin, right? Within my realm of knowledge and ability, I'm creating as many tools to parallel the tools that are mainstream, to offer not only an alternative for myself to build my team and my sales and my customer base and that kind of stuff, and offer them those resources, but then also offer it to different customers down the road who want an alternative to, I don't know, whatever it might be, right? So it's a it's a big grandiose thing that if I don't accomplish it, well, at least I tried, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's kind of part of it is just out of principle. That's who I am. And there's my own methodology and reasoning behind it. Whether it makes sense or not doesn't really.
No, but you're definitely laying the groundwork for, I think, a certain level of independency, but flexibility. Like you're very nimble when it comes to be able to, navigate through all of these nuances that you otherwise would be at the mercy of. Like you mentioned quite a bit earlier on about you being able to provide your own packaging, and eventually, I think you're, correct me if I'm wrong, almost getting into your own laboratory and making your own product instead of having to outsource it. So there's, obviously a price point that you can have more control over, and you're not at the mercy of someone else trying to favor a customer that might be, a little bit more of a higher volume versus someone that, is trying to start out. But now you can adjust supply and demand in a way where the quality control is set in by default, but then your abilities to be able to navigate through it all without someone having an issue for, whatever the reason might be in. Mm. So is that true? Like your website, independency, what is your next step? You're talking about packaging, or maybe it was labeling. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, just labeling. I actually talked to my lab about this. They actually suggested it for me just because they're trying to help me out as much as possible, and because we're a team in this. You know what I mean? Like if I'm able to get more customers and produce more product, then that's what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing, right? So they actually were the ones that put me on to the packaging type thing, not just this, but then also those sample packs that I had. And so that's the whole research where I'm going with that. In respect to where do I see myself going in the grander things that you had alluded to, I refer back to the conversation to where, and this is actually a good response to that we were having just before we started the podcast with Elon Musk and why he said what he did, right? If I put such a high emphasis on providing the customer quality and value for minimal costs that a single parent or small business or a blue collar worker can have without having to choose between, do I go on a date with my spouse or take my kids to a movie, or do I buy this cream that will help me? If I want to maintain the quality and value that people get for the money, I need to stay in control of that, right? And a lot of people, when you say control nowadays, it's a trigger word, right? Oh, you're controlling. Oh, you want... It's true right across the board. Depends on your value system and your outlook on life and what you want to do with whatever you're in possession of, right? So I guess that's where, going back to the previous questions with the website and server and things like that, and also my reasoning for wanting to stay out of debt, is if I want to offer the best quality bang for the buck that is in that cream right now, then I need to stay in control of my finances and in control of the resources that I accumulate, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think the point and the outlook that you're trying to structure there is definitely well understood. And control is a little bit of, it's like anything. If you want to be able to copyright or do a trademark of any kind, you need to be in control of that, because then you hold yourself at the mercy of someone else. And so this is a little bit more of the ability to be able to control your ability to supply not only the demand, but the packaging, and take some of the hurdles that other people might be able to put roadblocks in and be independent. You're providing a package that's underneath one roof, but then you're also kind of controlling the price point for the general average person. So instead of pricing your product as a marketing scheme and making the connection between quality and price point being real high, and both in the same stratosphere, you're creating the quality on par with the stratosphere brands that you're in competition with at a price point that, well, like what you're saying, blue collar, most people can afford.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
then it
important
goes-
for, I guess, the beginning part of where you were able to get, I think, a solution for the problems that you had at the very beginning.
Say that again.
At the very beginning, you were itching so bad that you're scratching to where there's blood underneath your fingernails. I'm sure there was a solution, but it would have been astronomical price point, and you're found a solution at a price point that is much more affordable for most people.
And you taught me that.
Oh, there you go. There's another
You taught
compliment.
me, yeah. So why do you go roofing for free? Because
Ooh.
you want to have the ability to do what you need to do by yourself without having to take another mortgage out.
Yeah.
Why do you go working for a welder for free? Because you want to learn that skill to help and benefit your own life. Well, it's the same. I took the control. I'm like, okay, if I want that, what do I need to do to accomplish that? And it goes further for me. If I want a lot, and this is where it gets, we're so accustomed to the way but privacy, right? Gmail's free. Awesome. Great. But what are you getting for free? You're giving up your privacy. I have my own server. I have my own email, right? A lot of people it's not that they don't realize it. It's just not something that you think about. Every single email that you send Gmail, financial, relational, everything goes on a server. Who owns that server? Google does, right? Google now has access to your private information. If I were to go to Shopify, for example, and I don't want a disclaimer, everything I say is just fanciful and story and it's not proven, whatever, right? But if I go to that and they offer me more streamlined marketing tools, more streamlined whatever, and it makes my life easy, so I go there, but I don't own the database that comes with it from doing that extra 10% of work and research and knowledge that I have on WooCommerce and WordPress from my own server. That means the customers that trust me with their payment information, their names, their email addresses, their political affiliation, whatever they might, not that I ask for a political association, but the point is whatever information they share with me, I delete off my server. I got that in my privacy cookie policy. If your account is inactive for a day, it's deleted. 20 days, I think I put. Anyways, the days within a month, all your data is deleted. The only thing that I hold on to for 5 years is completed sales. And the only reason why I do that is because CRA requires me to, right? Yeah. All your other data, I delete off my server because I don't want it. I don't want to sell it. But if I give myself over to easier, at what cost? Not only for me, but then that ties into my reputation, right? What happens when some hacker decides to go in there? And believe me, those guys are real, right? And some information is leaked out. Well, then that's my reputation, my business done. And it's very hard to recover from that, right?
Yeah.
So I look at kind of the bigger, like for instance, and I have to swap out these signs. But I found out yesterday that Burger King is getting sued because their commercials show the burger patty is bigger than in reality, right? Taco Bell's also getting sued, right?
Really?
Oh yeah, it's on CT. It's on.
Getting sued because of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like McDonald's. McDonald's got sued for hot coffee, so that's why they have that template, right?
It's true. It is true. Yeah.
It's just and McDonald's and Wendy's, they're no comment, but everybody's kind of protecting themselves now, right?
Yeah.
So I had a point behind that.
Well, you're creating your own. You wanted to have control. Nothing's for free, and so that information could be manipulated at your expense is, I think, what you're trying to.
Yeah, and I was using another example, but I forget exactly what the point was. But
look, to kind of go with what you're talking about there, because I think you made some very important points when it comes to, you know, the privacy thing. It does come at an expense, and I think most people think, well, what's the big deal? Because I mean, who would be that interested in, you know, let's use me for an example, Kevin Willeboordse. I'm in Fort St. John, which is an area that nobody really gravitates to when they're thinking vacations. And I got to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go to work. And how interesting is my life going down some road that isn't even on Google Maps to be able to create a paycheck? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think a lot of people relate, like, what is the value in my personal information? And who cares? You're going to get it no matter what anyways. Cell phones. I mean, you can't even drive anywhere without GPS. Yeah. So what's the big deal when you get into, you know, all these other products like Gmail or products? We'll just please do. Products in general, you know, where it's kind of almost the price of doing business now, anyways, right? Yeah. So what's the advantage when it comes to trying to shy away from that? And I think as long as you're okay with the fact that your information now is going to be sold and there's a rise in email and online scams, I think that could be, well, that's okay. But in the one-off situations, like your analogy, which is, I think, important, where you can nitpick something you would never even dream of, like Burger King being sued because a commercial that they had showed a patty that was a little bigger than what you get in reality. Mm-hmm. That's how fickle a lot of things can get to. Mm-hmm. And that is playing out in a lot of different ways, real time, every day. Mm-hmm. People are taking down, well, let's reword this. People are reacting in ways that seem to be nonsensical. Do you know what was a reality check for me? How they attacked on Remembrance Day Don Cherry with his position when it came to the poppy. I was like, well,
I never heard of that. Tell me about it.
He lost his job.
That was a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This was before even COVID.
Yeah, no, I did hear about that. I thought you were talking about like recently.
No. Like, I mean, the guy was going and trying to support veterans. Yeah. And these are people who lost their bloody lives and are in situations that are nothing. I don't care who you talk about in this generation, unless it was voluntary and joined the military. And even without that, what our veterans and even the survivors went through to promote mass immigration on the level that we've seen after World War II is underestimated, and we're on the receiving end of their sacrifice. And to attack the poppy, and this is, I mean, obviously, I hope this doesn't have a negative shadow on your company. This is solely, I guess, a personal opinion on mine, and I try and stay a little bit understanding from one perspective or another. But when it comes to this, I just don't see any other way how people can attack the sacrifices that were made that allowed the democracy and the freedoms we're enjoying now today.
How would that reflect negatively on my...
Well, because you're on Kevin Unscripted, and this is a conversation we're having together.
Fuck them if they can't take a joke. That's what I say.
Well, and I appreciate that. But so the example I was making,
I'm just going to say that. Okay,
Don Cherry, he stood his ground when it came to a principle and a moral stance that he wanted to be able to show acknowledgement to veterans. And even at that, it was attacked. And so the point I was trying to make up to that point was you were having concern about making sure that you had control over privacy and your own server and a lot of things that kind of bring, you know, that conversation up to that point together a little bit better, is that at least you are having the wherewithal and I think the effort to do something that is at the best interest of really not yourself, but the people that you're interacting with. That's a form of respect. Yeah. That at least you're not going to make yourself vulnerable and maybe compromise the privacy of other people, irregardless of their perception. It might be like very easy to try and get that information just by going on social media, but at the end of the day, that source isn't coming from your server, from your website, right? And that's a kind of a big deal, even though it's a small nonsensical thing to a lot of people. It's
that extra 10%.
Showing integrity.
It's that 10%.
10%.
If you talk a lot, and I think it's so cool, and I admire you about this, is how, for lack of better explanation, how involved in local community and, dare I say, politics you're getting, right? And I remember the other day our conversation, and we were having good chat, and you were talking about people getting involved in their community. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes right across the board, right? I think nowadays we're so accustomed to the fast food, easy come, just sit on a couch, watch Netflix kind of thing, that more effort, if it doesn't have to be a massive thing, right? But by people getting involved in their community is one thing. But then on another spectrum is people like myself who go that extra mile to protect people's privacy, or people who create another alternative to the mainstream way of doing things, whether that be political, whether that be online, whether that be with podcasts, whether that be however you want to do it, farming, any way that it can be, is if we want freedom, and if we want freedom, meaning not my way, not your way, I believe that freedom is the ability to disagree with somebody and get angry with somebody, even though they're doing something that we don't like, right? If we want that kind of lifestyle again, more people should put that 10% in and not take the easy way, because that easy way oftentimes is giving up your rights, right? In some form of fashion, right? So maybe I'll get kickback on that, or maybe I won't, but that's kind of if you look at my whole life, right from the accident to living on the street to going to where I am today, it's all been that's been the whole thrust of what's brought me here, is just wanting to serve people with integrity and wanting the best. Let's start with the youth, right? And wanting to provide youth workers with a decent paycheck that they didn't have to go and beg people for, right? And they could do what is on their heart. And it's the same thing with the privacy that I'm putting on my website, to the quality control that I'm putting in my product, to not just the hand creams, but the website development side of things, right? So yeah, it's that extra 10%.
It is the extra 10%, and I think within that 10%, the value of growth doesn't come at the sale of morels or principles. That's a hard. You like that, eh?
That's
so
hard.
Is it the 40 Creek, or is it the?
It's this one here. That was
90. Good Canadian rye.
Yeah, that was hard.
Rye whiskey.
So you were.
It was a big slurp you just had.
Yeah, it was. Sorry for interrupting, because that was a good point that you were talking about there. So cool.
Fucking whiskey. Hey, we're yapping.
That's good stuff. I think I like. Do you have? This is like really sharp going down. That's smoother.
Do you know what we can do? The Can't Have Today decanter has bamboo rum in it. You want to slurp of that? Just a small splash.
Yeah.
Let's make these fresh here. Just a little
So
splash.
you're getting a lot of good use out of that, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Looks good.
Plug it. So I'm gonna put. Oh, hold on. I'll put that back on. We're still recording. We'll do a cheers, but before we wrap things up, we got to make sure we hit. Where do people find Can Have Today?
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, eh?
I went on a rant. My apologies.
No, I got a bunch of was gonna.
notes there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna add on to it, but it's not important. Can have today Homesteader Health, Safeway, Fort St. John, Shepherd's Inn, and JD Knives.
Website.
Canhavetoday.ca. Ooh, if you could bring that up, because that's actually one of the features that I want to highlight now that I got a visual. What word do we want to give away? Because I'm going to have people listen to this podcast and then they'll get free product.
They're going to have to get all the way to the end? Just joking. Yeah, okay, so word of the day about, I don't know, just put 10%.
10%.
Give them 10% off for 10%.
Sweet.
Hey, 10%.
Yeah, let's do that.
10% club.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so which product is best for you? So if you're wondering what product would be best for you, and if what the difference between Healing Legends, Water's Mist, and Soothing Juggernaut and Sparkling Rain is, just go to my website, and there's a big wet red tab there.
So it's top right.
Yeah.
So just bear in mind that a lot of people are listening audio only.
Okay. So the top right of the website, if you're on your phone, it's a little hamburger that
just
drops
click
down.
on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I offer 3 funnels there. A blemish funnel, a product funnel, and then I believe there's a wound funnel. Yeah, it's right there. And then you just click on the learn more, right?
We'll do the wounds funnel, learn more.
Yeah. And it'll ask you for your email. You don't have to put that there. It's totally private. Click next. It'll ask you for your name, totally private. Well, this one doesn't, but other ones do. What's your main concern? Click next. And then it'll just ask you a series of questions, right?
Oh, like wounds.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
And then it'll ask you questions. I can't read that right now.
Can Have Today offers 3 salves that can help with wounds. And then below that, lower, I guess, text sizing, Healing Legends, Soothing Juggernaut, Water's Mist. And what kind of wound are you trying to address? So
small cut or burn.
So wait a minute. You've got 3 products here. So Healing Legends, Soothing Juggernaut, Water's Mist. Do these all have attributes that kind of help with wounds in one form or another?
That's one of the things that makes my product a little bit complicated to differentiate. There's a lot of overlap in them, but what they're targeted to do, they do really well, right? So in other words, Healing Legends is awesome for like scar tissue and healing, like wounds, closing it up. It does that very well, but they'll all, obviously because they're a natural product, right? They'll all assist in wound healing, right? So...
okay.
So you can go there and there's a
You've
question.
you got questionnaire. You got, I don't know how many are here, probably 12.
Click on one.
So we'll go small cut. Click on that.
And then it'll bring you another one.
So which of the following best describes your symptoms? So redness, swelling, pain, discharge, or pussy, fever. So let's go with the first one, redness. Another question. Redness is a sign of inflammation, which is sign of infection.
And it gives you a little bit brief explanation on why we recommend the product that we do. And then it gives you the byproduct, or it gives you the research behind the product that we're referring to. And it's all backed by medical journals and science. So it's accurate. Right?
How did you come up with all of this? Because that's a decision tree. It's a matrix tree that you're using.
Yeah.
How many variations did you have to come up with?
A lot.
Holy smokes.
But it makes life easy for people, right? So if you back out of that one and you interchange any of the questions, it'll give you a different result depending on what question forget what logic it's called.
So is it AI?
No.
What is it? You went through every variation like a matrix tree, like a decision tree, basically, like engineers
remember I was
use.
talking about Usla?
Yeah.
She put together the information and chart, right, of results, right? And then I had my technician build the software for this.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
So if you back out to, let's go for a more simple one, so this is for if you're really interested in knowing, kind of digging into the nuts and bolts of it. But then if you just want to know the product, go back to which product is best for you, that big red button.
Oh,
there.
okay. Yeah. Click top right.
And then product funnel, it's the only black one there. And then this is a very fast, shallower product thing. Next, you don't have to put your email in there. So and then it goes, what are you looking for? And then there's a list of symptoms that looks itchy feet.
Let's try
whatever, right?
It's the first one. Let's click that one.
And then it'll give you a fast and easy one, right? And this is what we
so
recommend
Water's
for
Mist
that.
can help your symptoms.
Yeah, and then
Learn
buy
more
Water's-
or buy Water's Mist.
Exactly right. So that's the product funnels for the customer, which is fantastic. Takes a lot of the questions out. Then if you want to go to on the home page, if you push, I should put a home button there, right? But it's just that, right there.
Yeah.
Then scroll down, and then that search bar. Enter question there.
This one right to the right.
Yeah. Now enter whatever question you have. What's good for acne? Go for that.
Okay. What's good for acne? Question mark.
Well, take the question mark out.
Okay. No. What do they call that anyways when you do the spaces and question marks?
That is something I'm going to have to fix. Okay, go just acne. And then there's all the articles on acne that we have in the blog.
Oh, well, there you go. We found a little bit of an area for
improvement, right?
There's a lot going on there because I structured it originally as a question instead of just a symptom. It just recognized acne as a...
Yeah, you could do it for rashes or whatever, right? The point is there's a huge resource there. I've got hundreds of articles, and they're all backed by science.
So when you say that, backed by science...
Medical science.
Come on, where do you get that from? That statement.
Click on the article there. Click there.
This one?
There. Yeah. And then scroll down.
Oh, wow. You've got hot links and there's a lot in here. Holy
5K.
man.
So scroll up again a little bit. Okay, scroll down underneath the K and click on that right there. And
so
that'll lead you to a medical journal, right?
Oh.
And so that's the medical journal that shows and proves what we say is actually true because it's been tested.
Wow. Tested by who?
Labs. And
this is National Library of Medicine. So the National Center of Biotechnology Information. So, okay. It's legit. It's an American-based.
Yeah, so if you want to know where it's been tested and who's tested, it's got all the names and all the credentials. It's even got the license number and all this other stuff. Actually, Can Have Today is getting this done on our product.
Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So, and I question that because we're talking about politics a little bit earlier, but people use broad terminology to be able to shore up their point of view, it's bullshit. And you have legitimate. So when you say backed by science, you're able to follow it up with more of an actual precise, factual.
Yeah, and you know why I did this? Because of that imposter syndrome that I was talking about before. I'm like, how is there any way that a trucker could come up with this? There must be gimmick. So I started with, I got boxes full of medical journals, right? And that's, I'd write articles on the different topics, right? And now that I'm busy, so Usla does a lot of...
Where did you get the graphics?
That was taken by a professional photographer from the lab. They sourced that out.
Oh, shit. Yeah. So this is very well done. I mean, you've got... so to put all of this together, I don't know how to phrase that question, but basically the encompass of putting all this together is an accumulation of, do you have an can you put this, quantify it into like how many man hours or like years or like what did it take to put something like
The
this
information
together?
on here.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good for all of the information. That's about 3 years worth of work. And for one article, is at least a minimum of 24 hours straight, like 24 hours, just nonstop. It takes
Research.
Research. The articles are short, but the research behind the article, and then what I do is I have to go to medical dictionaries, right? Because they use these big, long, fancy words that means stuff, and I just want to. The whole point behind that is to translate it into language that the everyday person like you and me can understand, right? So, but I'm very strict on, I don't want the articles written on opinions, right? So there's the majority of, I'd say about 98%, 99% of the articles in my blog are based on actual fact. I've got a few based on more, it's...
Fact coming from where?
Fact
And I'm not trying to challenge you. I just want to know more about.
Challenge me. I mean, this is what I'm all about, transparency, right? So the opinion, when I say opinion piece, it's more like saying, okay, well, you brush your teeth and I'll see your teeth are going to be clean. Well, that's an opinion.
Yeah.
Facts are myrrh interacts with your liver to produce white blood cells. Well, what's the facts backing that up? Well, I got medical journals that have actually tested the myrrh to prove that that is an actual factual fact. You know what I mean?
So with your website where you've got all this research and journal, what do you call that there? Not journal literature. It's not something that's cut and paste. Like there's no plagiarism issues. This is all freelance research backed by the amount of links that you have on here to be able to. So every statement is backed up by a link. This looks like an essay that they make you do in school, like in university, where every statement is backed by a link that goes back to the source of that information.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and if you also look, I put a copyright, so you can't cut and paste from. Try and copy anything.
Sure. Let's go back into, okay, let's hit this one. And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy and paste it. So this is off your website, but you didn't take this off of other people's.
No.
So let's oh.
So, and I've got a copy. It drives my tech team absolutely batty. But I've done that for a reason, because I don't cut and paste from other, because I don't think that's ethical, right? And so therefore I don't want people coming and taking my,
See, you can't cut and paste unless it's a link. You got a hot link here.
Yeah.
For anything.
And then that link generally takes you back to the source of information, right? Or another, in that case, another article. So, yeah, no, it's there's a lot of man hours put into that, like a lot. Like if you remember a couple years back, I was taking pictures of me sitting in the apartment, and I'm like, yeah, this is my night, because I was all nighter or whatever, right? And I had all those stacks of studies. And that's what I would do, is I would go through the medical study, not an opinion, like not somebody else's version of the study. I go to the actual source of that study, and then I read it. It's fascinating stuff, right? And then I go to the thesaurus or medicaldictionary.com to decipher what the heck does angelic or whatever medical terminology means, and then I rewrite the knowledge in the article, and this is kicking in.
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
feeling it big time.
So,
well, that's pretty cool. Look, we're hitting. I don't know, because I had the recording going while we had that little pee break, but we're hitting up to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I'd say easy.
Oh yeah, that's good. This is why I told you I didn't want this, because then I start losing my train of thought and
it's
things
good.
like that.
I mean, I love softening the conversation a little bit.
Well,
With
it's phenomenal. I think we hit on a lot of cool information. Hopefully the listener likes it.
I think they will.
And yeah.
Let's put a hot word in there. Anybody who's listening till now, we're going to see what the results are. Let's put a little bit of teeth behind things here.
Nice. Okay.
You said on your website you get 10% off. I think that was our hot word.
No, I'm gonna give the salve set.
Holy shit! So what is that worth?
$90.
How much?
$90 retail
For all four?
Three.
Yeah. So what three here?
So Juggernaut, Water's Mist, and Legends.
So Juggernaut. That's which one's the Juggernaut? This one says Juggernaut.
Red, blue, and yellow.
These three bigger ones. So you're giving away.
And the only reason why those three is because the box only fits three.
Okay.
So, and then
why is the Sparkling Rain smaller?
Because it's funny thing is the Sparkling Rain out of all of them is the most expensive for me to manufacture. Just because of the chaga and the grapefruit. It used to come with the Lang Lang, but it's a really good moisturizer.
Messing around with the cameras here. Okay, well, that's cool. So these three, and this is how much? If you had to buy it off your website, they're $35.
$29 each.
$39, so 30 bucks, so 90 bucks. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll match that. I'll tell you what, we'll go for everybody that's up to this point, because you're going to put 10% off, right? Oh, no, it's a free set. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Okay. Well, what should I do? I want to give away a mug.
Yeah, give away a mug. Let's do.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. No, I don't. But I'll tell you what I'll do. Anybody who is able to, so I'm going to release.
Oh, those bracelet things.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is anybody who comments and shares, not this episode, but any episode, any Kevin Unscripted episode, and tags me in it. So at Kevin Unscripted, and then just puts listen to this, and then put mug, and then whatever color you want. And I got 6 different colors right now. I will send that mug with 2 stickers and those black wristband things, or those silicone.
So what if 1,000 people do that?
I'm up shit creek. But no, that's good.
Just think about that, Kevin. I mean, you're opening yourself up for
well, so are you. You got $90. Like, look at what the commitment is that you just made.
Yeah, that's limited commitment, right?
To what?
Just those.
Oh, this is the one set?
Oh yeah, I'm not giving away.
Oh, that's a good thing you said that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what then. Because that could be massively expensive.
Yeah. No. Yeah. This is a promotion. It's an enticement to listen to your podcast and to try out my product.
I'll tell you what. The first I'll do 10. I'll do 10 mugs. I'll do 10 mugs, just because I'm curious to see. This will be a test run to see. On this episode, how many people listen to the very end, and I will commit to that.
And then let's have we showed the funnel, because that was the very end.
I think to this very end, they're listening right to the very end.
Okay.
And so they have to hold me accountable as to the 10, right? So the first 10. So I'll have to figure out what that looks like. But I would like to say, okay, the first 10 people that are able to listen to this and tag me, because when you're tagging, it's a little bit of a documented form of accountability, and I'll reply with whatever color those first 10 people request. I'll reply with a picture of the color of the mug and the number that they end up asking for, and then that way it goes in succession. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10.
Suggest is that you limit that to Canada, because you don't want somebody in, say, Britain.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if somebody in Britain is willing to say, and they're number 1, for example, and they tag me, Kevin Unscripted, and the key word is 10%, the mug, and they share it. They share the episode, and they tell me what color, and I'm going to put a picture, of the 6 different colors I have. And the guy in Britain or wherever abroad, it doesn't really matter, is willing to put that kind of effort in. I will pay for the shipping for that mug to go to that person. That's no problem at all.
Decent.
Yeah,
That's decent.
Absolutely. That's the least I can do. That's a shout out. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them, like I said, about almost 40% is from Europe. So we'll see how many Europeans. We'll see how many Europeans throw that out there.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair. I mean, that's good to have a little bit of it's a Christmas promotion.
Well, that deserves another drink and a toast.
Okay. All right.
So,
okay, I'm going to do one other little disclaimer. No family member that I'm related to can do this.
oh yeah, no.
So like parents, brothers,
See that, mom and dad?
yeah, anybody,
Uncle
like,
Aunt.
the built-in, like, and I'm going to use disclaimers as to close friends too, because there's some support there. And they all have, anybody who's gotten my graph for free because you know who I am, I'm so sorry. That doesn't count. I love you, but fuck, I can't do it. Let's see that. There, I'll let you pour it.
Yeah.
No, that's a disclaimer. It has to be somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if you are the ones who I do know, let's make this more complicated. The ones that I do
Holy
know.
smokes.
This is a lesser, but I mean, I got to do a shout out to some of my hardcore listeners. Like, these guys are legit. I'm going to do, if I know you, well, you get some stickers, and I'm going to give you a surprise. I don't know what that is yet, but I got to figure something out. And what I can tell you is I'm going to give you a legit shout out on one of my next upcoming episodes. There's going to be some acknowledgement with that. Yeah, legit shout out. Like, we're going to make sure that it's at the beginning of an episode and there's some honest recognition. I think for those who are honest listeners, that's got, hopefully there's some honest value in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Good.
Cheers.
Deadly.
So the key word is 10%. You win my Juggernaut, Waters Mist, and Legends. That's a complete salve set. And then you get a prize from Kevin.
And well, so what did I say now? I'm writing it down. If you share any episode, tag me with the mug color. I will send it to them. I'll send that color of a mug, and I will give them a number between the first 1 and 10.
So, and then for me, just go to my website, canhavetoday.ca, go down to the contact form in the footer, and hit contact. It'll bring up an email address, and then email that.
So the other thing that I think we should do is I'm going to create a trailer for this episode, and it will not have what we're talking about in it.
No, please don't.
Because they'll fast forward right to the end, eh?
That just defeats the whole purpose.
So what happens if we get fuck all?
Well, then whatever.
You're humbled.
It was the same thing with yesterday when I did the whole Facebook thing, because I don't do Facebook. I just throw on a article every once in a while, right? And I was telling Tina, I'm like, oh, what if nobody does it, right? And man, guys, that was awesome when it just went wild the way it did. It's wild for me. I think only about 10 or 11 shared. But seriously, it's like,
no, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Seriously. And then 3 shares? Yeah, that's cool.
No, that is cool. We're over 3 hours.
Fucking rights, man. Could keep going on and on. I'll have to do another one with you.
The butterflies are gone, aren't they?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Is it the booze?
I think it's the booze definitely helps. Right? And this is really good. That's
Bamboo.
Oh,
Bamboo in a can't have decanter.
Yeah. So, but I think it was just kind of the apprehension of like asking about my business, and I feel like I talk too much in some areas, but whatever.
So do I.
Yeah.
It's common.
Yeah. So, but this was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again.
Okay, this is in closing. 10% can have on your website,
Yep.
and that gives you what?
Free set.
Okay,
Email me on contact.
Okay, and then for Kevin Unscripted, share any episode, preferably this one. There might be a little surprise, we don't know, but on this episode, make sure you tag me because that's the only way I'm going to be able to keep track of this. Let me know what color of mug you want. There's 1 out of 6. And the first 10 anywhere on planet Earth will get me delivering Kevin Unscripted mug. It's pretty badass.
Let's go Australia. The only reason why I say that is because I've had shipment from Australia. Still haven't
Have you?
Oh yeah, still haven't received it.
Really?
It was a shipping fiasco that happened, eh? So
We'll catch up on the next one on that one.
yeah.
Okay.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.